Did you have a hard week there, Boomer?
Oh, we're live, aren't we? I keep forgetting I
Yes,
was hearing the
yes, we
music in the
are.
background.
Yes.
I was supposed to say that this is going to be the night without any hiccups because I am coming from a brand new Mac that I bought because I was fearful of the tariffs, which I now find out apparently aren't going to be affecting computers. So, but we'll see.
There you go. There you go.
But this is
And we're also going to talk about the well, even the piece we're going to be talking about related to gaming and the tariffs is now kind of obsolete because of.
So now I'm wondering, what is this going to be on? What are the tariffs going to be on now? That's my big question. But
mostly on China, and I can get into it a little bit tonight. I don't want to get.
I'm not going to get that sweet Smithfield bacon anymore. Is that what's going on? Anyway,
I don't know, where does Smithfield bacon.
I think it comes from China, but don't quote me on that.
Don't
quote us; I will get sued. Okay.
If you're having a problem with tariffs, maybe think about buying American. Then you don't have problems with the tariffs.
Well, that's the problem. Half the time it's hard to tell what is. That's the thing.
Well, now's going to be a great time to find out because you go to the store, you find it marked up, and you go, you know what? I'll take this cheaper brand over here. Guess what? Made in America. There you go.
Welcome, everybody, to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Agent Boomer. This is my co-host, Pacelli.
Hello.
And I'm on my brand new Starlight-colored Mac because it was the only one available at the price I wanted to get it at. So, got a good deal from Best Buy. They still sell things on occasion that I want to purchase, so that's good.
As a matter of fact, the big screen television that we are watching the YouTube stream on came from Best Buy.
I recommend when you're doing mail order of big items, you either do like a Best Buy or a Walmart. Do something where in your area there's a store. On the off chance it comes in and it's messed up, you can bring it to the store rather than having to mail it back. That could be a real hassle.
And make sure you research anything that you are buying.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it's a stapler. Research which ones are the best, don't jam, whatever. I did so much research on this TV before we bought it.
And I would recommend
everything.
And I would recommend Consumer Reports, which you can find at your local public library.
I'm sure they have an online version too.
They actually do. You have to subscribe, unless of course you belong to your public library, and if they have online magazines, and Consumer Reports are part of the online magazines. That's how me and my family did research on what appliances to buy after we lost, the washer and the dryer and the dishwasher and the stove and the refrigerator and everything else during Hurricane Ian, because they got toxic sludge water in them that we didn't want to use the fridges and the ovens after that.
But you were 100% right. We got the TV from Best Buy.
Yep.
And it came with a wall mount that you had to pay separately for. And when the guys got here, they're like, it's basically the same kind of wall mount you have. Do you want us to just use this one? We said, yeah, if that's easier for you. He goes, well, then you can return this one to the store. So I was able to, return it for like $30 the other day.
Oh.
$30 is $30,
Dude, they gave you free installation. Was Johnny Lawrence there, and did he put it on the wrong wall? Yelled at him.
Well, no. There was two guys that came out because it's more these bigger TVs are more of a two-man job. They were excellent. Okay. They were absolutely excellent.
Very professional. Well, good.
And they got everything. The only problems I'm having are my own issues because of hooking my computer up to it and all, but. Everything went really, really smooth. Thank you so much, RubyHoove, who has just gifted a membership to Maddie's Daddy, also known as Steve M. Welcome, Maddie's Daddy. We are so glad to have you, and we are so glad to have RubyHoove. She is an incredible supporter of the channel. I swear she's growing our community every single week. I super appreciate that.
Yes. So Maddie's Daddy, Maddie. That's a wonderful name.
It's a beautiful name. Yeah, I was just talking with Netter the other day in the car, talking about names seem to go through cycles, kind of like styles do, and I think there's a lot of names that I miss. Like Lois and Clark, right? Those are very 40s names. They were very popular back in the 40s.
Yes.
I miss those names. And when you hear someone who's younger with that name, you're like, well, that's a really nice name, you know?
Yeah.
Maddie is just short for Madeline, so Madeline kind of has never gone out of style. That one's kind of a timeless name.
Yeah, I think so. Madeline Kahn.
Yeah. Oh, Madeline Kahn.
Yeah.
I remember her, yeah.
Welcome, Big Al. Always good to see you.
Yep.
And hopefully when I'm done with this semester, we can do another Robin of Sherwood stream. We're on the big finale of season 2. That'll be our next episode. And all characters will not come out surviving that finale. The episode is called The Greatest Enemy. And I assume who's the greatest enemy? Of course, it's the Sheriff of Nottingham.
Oh, yeah.
But let's just say he's given an ultimatum by Prince John. You kill Robin Hood or I'm sending you to the front lines in Normandy.
I was just going to say, isn't Prince John really
He's the boss of the sheriff. He's basically said he's done. He's you take care of the Wolf's Head or you're going to the front lines in Normandy. And that means that's basically certain death, right?
Right.
In Normandy. They were always about fighting Normandy using the taxes they took from the poor lower classes in England, right, to pay for the foreign wars. Sound familiar? Anyway, Connie Cleary, welcome. And JPRPH1, always good to see you. Look, you got a little design there. Thank you. Let's see, deleted scenes. We got a lot of people tonight. Netter of Netter's Network, we cannot forget you. I always get a hi, sweetie, from Netter. Chris P, welcome. Let me just keep scrolling down. Look at this. It's so much smoother on this new Mac. It's not chugging like the other one. I don't know what's going on with that one.
Well, that is a matter of what do you call it? What's the term? Troubleshooting, right? Because anytime you would have problems, you didn't know if it was your internet, your computer,
it's the Mac. It's getting old. Eventually, when I'm going to try opening up the back. I got a special screwdriver. I'm going to see if I can do anything to fix it. I suppose I got to always take it to the Apple store too, but I don't know if I want to go to that much trouble.
He's going to open it up. He's going to find like a big mat of dust in there.
I did drop it on the floor a few times when we had no rug and it got dinged up after Ian.
Gee, so I wonder if that might have something to do with it.
Something to do with it. Agent Boomer, welcome. You are the best of us. I'm really happy you joined us tonight. Oh, wait a minute. No. Anyway, Jessica Hardo, if I missed anybody else, I apologize. Geek Flag with Nate knows. I really do love those little mini Doctor Who clips. If you ever want to expand on those, I would love to watch those. But I loved his commentary on Peter Davidson. Are you going to do one this week for New Who? Because we're doing New Who this week. At least
that's entirely up to Nate. Nate, if you want to do one that relates to either the Dimensions in Time or the Doctor Who movie with Paul McGann or Christopher Eccleston, go for it.
Can you stop acting like we ever had acts? We'll talk about it Friday. I'll save it for Friday.
Okay.
Dimensions in Time I didn't even know existed until like a few years ago. It's like this. Troy, the last guy named Clark was a something. He had an ace in the hole, as they say. Anyway, Connie, welcome. Jonathan Conroy, welcome. Hit that like button and smash the like button and enjoy the stream. I completely agree with that. We're going to have a good night tonight. But first, before we want to bring the presentation up.
Oh, darn. I didn't even load the presentation.
Well, that's okay.
Vamp for me. Yeah.
I'll chill out here for a minute. Do you want to do it now while I'm talking to the chat?
I am. Yes. That's what I'm doing now. Yes.
All right. It's okay. I should be doing it myself more too. But the Doctor Who movie I actually never saw, so I'll watch it and give you my thoughts on it. Yeah. If you can see it. I'll have my own thoughts on that this Friday, but I believe that was that 98? I want to say that was spring of 98 because I think it was on the same time as the last season of the end of season 2 of Millennium, which was my favorite show on Fox. I desperately miss Millennium. Only got 3 seasons. All 3 were very different from each other, but they were all good. And I do miss Millennium terribly. But I remember they were airing Doctor Who, and the idea behind that was they were going to have a new series that would air on Fox and also on the BBC in England. It would be a joint production, but then the pilot did not do well in the ratings. I don't remember what happened. I think it had something to do. It was, I don't know if it was on against Nash Bridges. And of course, if it's Nash Bridges, it would just destroy anything it was up against, right?
Right, exactly.
But anyway, Connie Cleary, welcome. But anyway, for those of you who've not come to this channel before, this is Geeky Geezers. Every Sunday night, we bring you the latest in the geek news, or at least what Troy and I think is the greatest and most worth commenting on in geek news. You notice how I've not talked about the Ghibli meme generator. I want nothing to do with that. But
really, I've been hearing a lot of things about it.
I want nothing to do with that. I'm not. No. I mean, I know I'm not allowed to think anything is sacred these days in pop culture, but Ghibli is still kind of sacred. Tales of Earthsea notwithstanding, which was a disaster. That was the one Ghibli movie that was a complete disaster, was their adaptation of Ursula K. Le Guin's Earthsea, because Miyazaki's son was the one who did that movie, and he didn't have the chops to do it. Sorry.
Gotcha.
You were an architect. You were probably a good architect. Stay with what you're good at. We can't all be directors. Millennium, Sunday night at 10, where I was. Oh, that's interesting. It was always a Friday night show. What happened was on Fridays, that was always the X-Files night. And what happened when Millennium aired, they started doing, I think, Millennium on at 8 and then X-Files on at 9. And then they moved the X-Files to Sunday night. It always bugged me because X-Files was always a Friday night show for me. Mm-hmm. And that's where it got its cult audience. It's for all the people who are stuck at home on a Friday night. You'd watch the X-Files.
Which is interesting because I've always heard that Friday nights were like the death zone for shows.
They kept trying to destroy Smallville, and I think they eventually gave it the death zone for Friday night, and they said try and survive on Friday night, and it still did good ratings. And they were like, darn, that thing lasted 10 seasons. The CW kept trying to find an excuse to cancel it, and they couldn't. I love the fact that show.
And what's funny about that is 10 seasons was about 6 seasons too long. I'm going to get back to my retrospective on that, and I'm going to start getting some videos up talking about my alternate version of how I would have done a shared cinematic universe for DC and talk about that. But yeah, you can't stop fans who love something. They will watch in the middle of the night, on a Wednesday if they have to, in order to see the shows they like. But whatever.
X-Files actually premiered on a Sunday. Geek Flag, you and I have different memories on this. I distinctly remember the X-Files mirroring Friday night and it aired right after The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., starring Bruce Campbell. And I was newly moved to Florida, where I had no friends, a junior in high school. And what am I going to do on a Friday night? What's the show, The X-Files? I tuned in for Briscoe County Jr. because that was the one I thought was going to be the hit. Because Bruce Campbell,
I liked Briscoe County Jr. Yeah,
and then it was like Strange Luck was on with X-Files for a single season. There was a potential crossover, but never happened. Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff. We may have to talk about the X-Files one of these days. In fact, I wonder, not that we should have that on the Twin Peaks stream, but if Deleted Scenes ever wanted to devote an episode of that to the X-Files, I could ramble on for a good 2 hours about that. But today we're here to talk about the good old days.
Yeah. Yep.
Dennis the Menace. We're heading back. Yes.
So I'm guessing we're going to focus on the TV show. Of course, the TV show was based on the syndicated newspaper strip from the I want to say early 50s.
Yes.
And it like I said, it was syndicated, so it ran in the papers for all the time that I was a kid, and I read it all the time, right? I always read the funny papers and whatnot. But then I want to say it was Nick at Night. I mean, I'm sure they syndicated the show elsewhere, but yeah. So there you go. That's what is it? 1959. It looks like that says there. Copyright 1959. So that's when they started this TV show, live action TV show.
Yes, and I mean, did you grow up with Dennis the Menace? That's what I'm going to ask you, because I did. And it's kind of odd that I'm saying here that I grew up with a show from what, early 1960s? Is that when this aired?
Like I said, it looks like it says 1959 there. So,
that makes sense. Yeah. Late 50s. That makes perfect points to that. And anyway.
But no, I didn't really watch this much as a little kid. Like I said, all I knew of Dennis the Menace was the comic strip. And I remembered my mom and grandma talking about Dennis the Menace. But, I didn't realize they were talking about a TV show. I thought they were talking about the comic, which actually, for conversation's sake, didn't make any kind of a difference. Dennis the Menace and Mr. Wilson and all that kind of stuff. Didn't matter if you were getting your stories from the TV show or the comic strip. You basically got who Dennis the Menace was.
Was he worse in the comic strip than he was in the show?
No, very similar. I think they could do more in the strips because they didn't have to worry about, stunts and special effects and stuff like that. There's a lot of things you can do in comics that you can't do in real life.
So here we have the family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, to be fair, I think they look like their comic strip versions, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Same outfit.
Absolutely. The father with the glasses, yeah.
Yeah, and we have, let's see here. There he is. Oh, see what's new for Mac OS 15. I got to take a half-hour break, guys. I'll come back. I'm sorry. Wait, no. Okay, anyway.
Did you just get one of those pop-ups?
Yes. All right, so here we go, though. There's the overalls. There's him. And the thing is, you want to think the kid is a menace, but he is good-natured at heart, right?
Yeah.
He just does things that cause horrible mishaps, and I guess that's where the humor comes from.
There's a lot of things about him. He means well, but he doesn't know how to do the things he wants to do. He doesn't think things through. Way too much energy for his own good. Yeah, he's messing up, but he's got a good heart. He's never doing it to stick it to someone or he doesn't have any bad intentions.
No, this isn't like the Omen, the series. Don't get.
Yeah, right. Okay? Exactly.
This is all right, but there he is on his bike, and I was watching the episodes today. So he'll be trying to help Mr. Wilson, who's trying to paint him. Mr. Wilson, I just want to be left alone,
Yeah.
But even Mr. Wilson, there's one of his friends,
Yeah.
They just look like troublemakers. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
And there's Mr. Wilson. So we'd always say, "Hey, Mr. Wilson," right? That was his catchphrase. Yeah. And Mr. Wilson would be painting his house, and then he'd interrupt Mr. Wilson, and Mr. Wilson would start painting the window. And then, I'll help you by bringing this paint can over here. And then Mr. Wilson steps inside the paint can. Then his parents have to buy Mr. Wilson a new pair of shoes. And it's always gags like that. And
right. Exactly.
I would imagine this is airing at the same time as shows like The Munsters and things like that. Right?
Sure.
So here we go. And but I think Mr. Wilson, it's kind of push and pull because I think he genuinely likes Dennis. He still sees him as a kid. It's just that, you're just a bit of a menace, see?
Exactly.
But you caught this on Nick at Night. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I caught this on Nick at Night or if I caught this on the Disney Channel. Because we didn't get Nick at Night. This was one of these things where Nickelodeon would shut off and switch to another channel at 8 o'clock where I lived. So we never got Nick at Night till much later. But Disney would show a lot of these old 50s sitcoms. They showed Ozzie and Harriet.
Sure.
And I believe they showed Dennis the Menace. So I watched a lot of these.
Makes sense, yeah.
I will say this for Black and White. I think Black and White does have a timeless nature to it.
It does.
I kind of wish... Well, I don't know. I hear the younger generation can't watch Black and White, but I'm sure present company is excluded at this. But I do think it does lend a timelessness to what you're watching. He's not malicious, but something always went wrong. Yes.
And Jesse Guajardo, welcome, by the way, says, Troy, did you know Dennis the Menace ended up on Dairy Queen ice cream, fast food, as the mascot, just like Popeye the Sailor did for Popeye's Fried Chicken. Yes, I did know that.
I didn't know about Popeye for Popeye's Fried Chicken, but I do remember Dennis the Menace being associated with Dairy Queen. I never got to go to Dairy Queen that often. I don't know if they just didn't have in my area. I my favorite thing, go to Dairy Queen, get the soft serve, and get it covered in rainbow sprinkles. That was my favorite thing.
And the thing about Dairy Queen was it became like, I don't know what the term is, but when you use a brand name for everything that's like it, because there was other ice cream shops like them, and one was Tasty Freeze.
And Tasty Freeze wasn't ice cream.
It wasn't?
No, it was a frozen dessert. How do I know this? I read the book Slaughterhouse-Five by Kurt Vonnegut, and the character in that owns a chain of Tasty Freezes, and he says, but it is a frozen dessert, but it's not ice cream. That's what he says.
Right. Because there's U.S. Regulations about what you can call ice cream. If it doesn't have enough milk fat in it, you can't say it's cream. So you say it's a frozen dairy treat or whatever.
Yes,
whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. Ice milk, ice cream.
It's fine.
It tastes just the same.
We have Culver's down here. They have custard, and actually, I know Dairy Queen. They would have the Blizzard, and the Blizzard I like because you could get any kind of candy mixed in with the ice cream, and I would do the chocolate ice cream with chocolate cherries. That's
so
nice.
What I really liked was, and this is McDonald's fault. I used to really like McDonald's had the McFlurries.
Yes.
With M&Ms, and I loved it.
Yes.
But as you know, those machines were always broken down. You could never get them. And then when you start hearing, maybe it's better that you don't get that from McDonald's because they don't really take very good care of cleaning those machines. I was like, well, you know what? I could just go and get a Blizzard at Dairy Queen with M&Ms. And honestly, it's the same exact thing.
Yeah, Culver's has a similar thing. They call it a concrete mixer. I guess like it's a mixing concrete, but it's really with custard. And you get two things to mix in with it. You get a choice of two things. You could do a fruit and a nut, or fruit and some candy, or a sauce and some candy. You can do whatever you want. But
fruits and nuts you can only get on the West Coast, right? I'm kidding. That's bad. Okay.
No, that's extra.
Colored jokes by Troy do not reflect directly on Geeky Geezers or the branding.
Can we go back to the late 50s when all was right with the world and owned nice houses? Of course, the dad is an engineer, so that probably helps with that. Because I kept wondering, what does the dad do for a living? He's an engineer. Mr. Wilson is retired. Is that $100 bill he's got there?
Yes, he does.
Wow. And that was a lot of money in 1950s.
Well, look at that look on his face. Yeah.
I don't know. Did Dennis the Menace rob a bank or something? And yet Wendy's has Frosty and sold Pop Coke floats. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know they sold.
Oh, yeah. Those were good. Yeah.
They still have the Frosty. Apparently they have a Girl Scout Thin Mint Frosty right now. Mr. Wilson ended up getting switched out. This is Mr. Wilson's brother that ended up looking after the house while Mr. Wilson was settling in a state. I don't think Mr. Wilson was ever seen again. This is the 50s, finding out what exactly happened to the actor. They think it coincides with him having some kind of, I think, a coronary. So I think he probably died. So they had to replace the actor. Yeah. But they figure, we'll just have it be Mr. Wilson's brother, and we're not going to deal with the death.
Who is still Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, so you can still say, hey, Mr. Wilson. Yes.
Exactly.
And
you recognize that actor?
No. Who is it?
Let me see if anyone in the audience recognizes him.
Was he on Hogan's Heroes or something?
No.
Was he Harry Mudd on Star Trek?
No, he was not. That's okay. Give everyone a chance.
Gail Gordon from Lucy fame. Oh, okay.
Yep. That's absolutely right. Very, very good. That's right. I'm actually having a hard time remembering his character's name. It was Mr. Oh gosh.
He was on
he was and it wasn't just on the Lucy show. It was like he was associated with Lucy and everything she did after that.
I wonder if this was a Lucille Ball production here. Were they involved with this maybe? Denny Lou?
Oh, I actually don't really know.
It's interesting. But there we go. Dennis Menace liked to carry around his cap guns everywhere. Which, believe it or not,
Mr. Mooney. That's it. Mr. Mooney. Thank you, JPRPH1.
Believe it or not, though, when I was around this age, I was also wearing cap guns and a cowboy hat. So,
everybody, all the boys did back then. Yeah.
Aged Boomer, see and holding $100 bill in your hands, like seeing $1,000, and today, probably, but what did I want to say? No, I got into wearing, when I got into dressing up as a cowboy after I saw the movie The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly on TV.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I'm done. Clint Eastwood. I wanted to be Clint Eastwood from those movies, The Man with No Name. I was obsessed with those movies.
I dig it.
But let's see here. And there's got the two guns anyway. It's wholesome fun, but it was still funny. I'll say this, even though it was wholesome, it was still funny. And it wasn't really trying to like shoehorn a message into everything. Like I had grown up with shows like The Facts of Life and Different Strokes, the Norman Lear shows, and even the stuff that was on TGIF, like Family Matters, and there was always some kind of message underneath everything. Like a lesson that we learned, and I don't think you had that as much in these early sitcoms. They were just straight up comedies, right?
Right.
And they weren't trying to do a moral. Now, I think that comes back with shows like Cheers and eventually Seinfeld and stuff where there really isn't. They're not trying to teach the audience a lesson. Of course, I would argue I learned more about having good manners from Seinfeld than I did from any etiquette books. So I'll say that for that show.
Fair enough.
But there we end here. I think the show lasted 4 seasons, 4 years, simply because I think the kid aged out of the role. You can't really be Dennis the Menace after a certain age, right?
That's kind of
a teenager.
That's kind of true.
And unfortunately, that brings us to our first news story of the night. Here's Geeky Geezers, and unfortunately, we do have an in remembrance. Unfortunately, an actor has now passed away, and it's weird. You can still see his face. I mean, it's still Dennis the Menace. It's
exactly right.
All these years later, and let me bring up the article.
Yeah.
And Jay North, Dennis the Menace fame, dead at 73. Jay North, veteran actor who played an eponymous character in the 1960 sitcom Dennis the Menace, has died. TMZ has confirmed. Lori Jacobson, a longtime friend of North and wife to Lassie actor John Provost, tells TMZ Jay passed away Sunday at his home in Lake Butler, Florida, after a battle with colorectal cancer. That's a rough one. I know from experience, at least. Anyway, we're told his health started to deteriorate over the past month, and he was surrounded by family, his wife Cindy and her daughters from a previous marriage, which we're told he adored when he passed. Lori says Cindy and her daughters gave him a family he never had, since he was an only child who never knew his father. We're told Jay hadn't seen his friends in some time because he needed to isolate in order to stay healthy due to his cancer. But Lori collected hundreds of letters from fans and gave them to him over Christmas, which he says he was thrilled about. North rose to prominence in the late 1950s, appearing in bit parts on programs like 77 Sunset Strip, Rescue 8, and Sugarfoot when he was less than 10 years old. Jay gained national recognition in 1959 when he started playing Dennis Mitchell on Dennis the Menace, starring in all 146 episodes from 1959 to 1963. His hair was bleached platinum blonde for the part, and he was instructed to claim he was a year younger than he was in interviews. Clever. Now listen, kid. I know you're 8, but really say you're 7, okay? It's like, okay. North opened up about his struggles on set years after the show ended, claiming his aunt verbally and physically abused him when he messed up, even taking him away from prying eyes to beat him when he flubbed a line. He always made it clear his mother and others on set weren't aware of the abuse at the time. That's awful. So I guess it was a family member saying, you're never going to make it if you keep flubbing your lines. That's what it sounds like. And just, he's a kid.
Exactly. Yeah.
Acting as a kid is hard. I mean, I don't pick on any kid for it. And I don't even know that the director would have either. Jacobson added he had a rough ride in Hollywood. He did not enjoy the experience. He was at a time very angry and bitter that the adults that surrounded him did nothing to help him or make his time easier. Dennis Menace was canceled after 4 seasons, and North transitioned to voice acting work in the late 1960s, early 70s on projects like Arabian Nights, Here Comes the Grump, and the Pebbles and Bam Bam Show. I remember the Pebbles and Bam Bam Show.
Yep.
By the late 1980s, North left acting behind, making limited cameos as himself in the years since on episodes of The Simpsons and the David Spade movie Dickie Roberts' former child star. I need to watch that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
In more recent years, North worked as a correctional officer in Florida, reportedly helping troubled youth in the juvenile system. He also helped.
How ironic, right? That Dennis the Menace ended up as a correctional officer helping troubled youths. That's amazing.
Well, I'm sure he made a difference in those.
I'm sure he did, no doubt about it. Yeah.
He also helped console former child stars via the group, a minor consideration through the 1990s. Oh, my word. I can see him talking to Gary Coleman. I'm sorry, I'm not thinking about that. All these child stars. Yeah. Jacobson tells us he also worked with inmates on death row who had troubled childhoods as well, and their conversations helped him find peace with the early years of his life. Despite his distaste for Hollywood, Jacobson said Jay did appreciate one perk he got from the industry: lifelong friends who were also child stars around the same time, including Angela Cartwright, Jerry Mathers, Stan Livingston, Paul Peterson, Brandon Cruz, among others. Jay was 73. I'm glad he did prison outreach too. I think we don't realize that really can make a difference in people, especially if they have to come out and readjust to society, but yeah. All right.
And here's an irony. This is, he just passed this, just this past week, 2025. His on-screen mother, Gloria Henry, just passed in 21.
Wow.
She was 98.
She lived a while, didn't she, though? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's only a few years difference. I mean, my gosh. Oh, welcome,
Orville Nation.
PJ, Orville Nation. And I think I also saw Real Wade Nation gaming clips there as well. Be hanging out with him on Tuesday.
Welcome, everybody. All right. But rest in peace. And you know what? I think Dennis the Menace will be one of these shows that people will still be watching in 100 years. What do you think? Maybe?
If not, people, you should seek out shows like this. They're really worth it and probably better than anything that's on right now.
I'll say this. They're actually good for kids to watch too. Like if kids are wanting more adult fare, well, I don't know if kids watch black and white, but I know when I was a kid, when I didn't want to watch cartoons, here's Dennis. This is live action, but it's really a live action cartoon if you think about it. But
in a way, yeah, you're kind of right. Yeah.
But it's on Peacock if you are a subscriber. It's also on Tubi, which is free. You get commercials, but that's how it was in the old days. So there you go.
Right.
It'd be great if when you watch, I wish that someone would have a streaming station where it was like they would show old TV shows, but then it would also have, you could have commercials,
the old commercials,
products, but the old commercials. So like an old Coca-Cola commercial instead of the bottle, like take a trip down memory lane or something.
That's for sure.
Or even make commercials in the style of the old commercials for modern products. That might be kind of fun. But oh well. Anyway, moving on to the first news story of the night. Grace Randolph.
Oh
boy.
I'm telling you,
something happened.
This one's coming to us from, and actually we have a lot of them coming from that Park Place this week. Guys, if you don't follow that Park Place, you are really missing out. They are doing the entertainment, investigative journalism that I don't think anyone in the mainstream media is doing anymore. And it's really them that's fueling, WDW Pro, Midnight's Edge, a lot of Culture Casino. They get a lot of their information from that Park Place. So make sure you're following that Park Place.
So great channel, YouTube channel. Also does a great website if you want to find out news as well. We tend to get news.
I am a premium member over there, so I get a little bit more information than some of y'all might get. Totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Definitely. YouTube film pundit Grace Randolph is facing intense backlash online after invoking the late Chadwick.
Shocking, just shocking. I can't even imagine that. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not the big part.
Well, it's one thing to say you didn't like the Super Mario Brothers movie. You're allowed not to like it. Okay, I enjoyed it. So did many other people. But if you didn't like it yourself, that's fine. But that's what she got into hot water one time. But this is something completely different. This is maybe crossing the line, I think. Invoking the late Chadwick Boseman while discussing circumstances surrounding filmmaker Matt Reeves leading to accusations of recklessness and inappropriate behavior. In a recent video, Grace Randolph stated, "If you knew what Matt Reeves was dealing with, you just leave him alone, as I'm going to do. I mean, it's not a Chadwick Boseman situation, but it's close, and I hope it doesn't turn into that. You should leave Matt Reeves alone." Now, she's probably saying that to kind of be incognito, that he's dealing with some kind of disease that could be terminal.
Yeah, could be.
That's what she's saying. I am not saying that's even what's happening with Matt Reeves. I do not know. I'm not privy to it. And if he wanted that out, he should have been the one to, his publicist or himself should have said it to everybody.
Yeah, that's really not cool to be sharing other people's, business. But on the other hand, I'm going to say maybe not so bad of her to try and defend somebody. I'm getting really sick, and I think all of you guys that follow us regularly know I feel strongly about this. Getting sick and tired of people who don't know the facts, believing bull crap about people that, there's an accusation, there's no proof, and suddenly they're guilty automatically.
Yes.
And I just cannot stand that. I'm sick of it.
So the cryptic nature of her statement, combined with the direct comparison to Boseman, who privately battled colon cancer before his passing in 2020, immediately drew criticism from fans and creators alike. Bo DeMeo, the former showrunner of X-Men 97, did not hold back in his condemnation. He posted, "This is abhorrent behavior, and the delight in her voice as she reports it is just gross. That is why so many creators who do what you can't so openly dislike you." I'm not really sure what he's saying there. DeMeo followed with a more pointed accusation. Disgusting.
Well, there's plenty of other reasons to not like Grace Randolph. Let's be honest. She's kind of a stunat. Let's call it what it is,
Disgusting. Does she have any idea what she could trigger him to do? Knowingly, reportingly on someone's personal mental health struggles, knowing it will only exacerbate and put that person at serious risk, is criminal and the epitome of those who can't do gab, linking it to this. Bo DeMeo. Wait a minute. Mental health struggles. That's not what she was inferring. Does Bo DeMeo now know something that was not supposed to be let out, and he's letting that out?
Exactly. That's exactly right.
I mean, did he take a ventriloquism and the dummy was...
And here's the other thing. We're also talking about someone who might be doing a little bit of projecting because of stuff he's gone through, and it's like, guys, really, you need to shut your mouths about stuff you don't know what you're talking about.
Disgusting, he said. Does she have any idea she could trigger? Okay, yes, I know. Knowingly report someone else's person. Okay, DeMeo's remarks introduce a new layer to the controversy as he specifically framed the issue as involving mental health, while Grace Randolph did not specify the nature of what Matt Reeves may be experiencing. DeMeo referred to it as personal mental health struggles and warned that public speculation could trigger Reeves, further intensifying concern. Whether DeMeo was speaking from personal knowledge or making an assumption, his comments shifted the tone of the backlash, with many now criticizing Randolph for potentially exposing a deeply private emotional battle. But in this case, Randolph didn't expose it.
Exactly. She didn't say anything. If it weren't for him, what she said literally had everyone believing, well, maybe he's struggling with cancer or something like that, which there is absolutely no stigma to that. People immediately have, assuming you believe what she's saying to be the case, you go, well, of course I'm going to have compassion for this guy. He comes out, starts shooting his mouth off, adding stuff that she did not say, and literally makes the situation what he's accusing her of.
Yeah, anyway, X account, The Daily Kryptonian, echoed the sentiment, writing, Grace Randolph...
There's a Daily Kryptonian? Really?
I assume so, yes.
I'll have to look into that. That's interesting.
It was probably a newspaper. Zod ain't so bad. Leave him alone. We're endorsing Zod for
oh my gosh.
I could see. Okay, do better. Matt Reeves has a freaking family that you may not know. If you're telling the truth, then you exposing this is the lowest thing you should have done. And I didn't know you could go lower than you have before. SMH, do better. We love you, Matt. Yeah. SMH.
Shaking my head.
Oh, because no one can actually type words out anymore. Okay.
I know.
Another user, the Bat in the Hat. Are you kidding me? Added, day in and day out, Grace Randolph gives us more reason to despise her and somehow manages to outdo herself every time. Grace Randolph, please do the entire community a favor and find a new career. Yikes.
I mean, prior to this particular one, I would absolutely agree with that. But honestly, I don't think this is the worst thing she's ever done or said. I think she had good intentions here.
Yeah, but I'm saying
probably not appropriate, not her place to say. But she's definitely not the one that escalated this thing.
Bo DeMeo apparently knows more, let on more.
And why is he not taking more flack for this?
Well, let's be honest. He's on the outs anyway.
Well, he's not doing himself any favors. That's true.
I don't think he's getting hired anywhere again anytime soon. I don't know what he did over at Disney, but they threw him out, and it had to have been bad if Disney got rid of him. As a publication, Matt Reeves has not commented on the Grace Randolph situation. No public details regarding any health-related issues have been confirmed. This incident has reignited debate over boundaries and fan commentary and the ethical responsibilities of online pundits when discussing private matters involving public figures. Grace Randolph has not responded to the backlash as of this writing. Do you believe Grace Randolph acted inappropriately by floating this rumor about Matt Reeves? Sound off in the comments and let us know. Well, I already did let you know. Oh, that's from the article.
I was going to say, absolutely she did, but nowhere near as badly as DeMeo did in this case.
So now we have another That Park Place article.
Well, wait, before we get there, I did want to point out that the reason that I brought, you guys don't see it, but I'm telling Boomer in the notes, I put this under Warner Brothers because if true, if any of this is true, it is a possible reason that the Sparkly Bats movie has been being pushed out, So.
Jessica Grace is in hot water. I guess so. Trying to see here though. Hail, every aged Boomer. Oh, welcome, Curtis.
Always and speaking of Disney letting people go.
Yeah, well, I want to know who did it. I want to know who did it, and I know the thing to jump to is Kathleen Kennedy. It may have been her, but apparently she didn't know about it. That's what she had gone on record as saying. Now that may be a lie, but we don't know.
Well, it's starting to look like we're going to be finding this stuff out again from that Park Place. Gina Carano wins big against Disney in lawsuit discovery battle. Judge orders Disney to hand over actor pay records within 20 days.
Yes.
This is going to discovery. I mean, literal. I'm not saying this is not a prediction. This article is telling us it's going to discovery.
Now, if people at Lucasfilm were smart, they'd be deleting stuff, but I don't think they're smart, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, in a major league...
No, I would say no, that would not make them smart. That would make them up on federal charges.
Look, man, I got this hard drive with all the info on it, but there was a big magnet around the door when I removed it from the room.
Well, yeah.
In a major legal victory for Gina Carano in her lawsuit against Disney, the U.S. District Court for the Central District of California has granted a motion to compel Disney to turn over key documents related to how other Star Wars actors were compensated, including big names like Pedro Pascal, Rosario Dawson, and the cast of The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah.
The order comes after 8 months of what Carano described as Disney's deflection and stalling in a wrongful termination lawsuit. The court order issued in case number 224, I'm not going to read all that, forces Disney to comply within 20 days, handing over verified spreadsheets showing how actors were paid across The Mandalorian, related Disney Plus shows, and the upcoming film. The ruling partially grants Carano's motion to compel, marking a pivotal moment in the ongoing battle between the Cara Dune actress and one of Hollywood's largest media corporations. Discovery motion granted in Gina Carano's case against Disney, wrote her attorney Gene Shire on X. The court is forcing Disney to turn over information about how stars like Pedro Pascal, Rosario Dawson, others from The Mandalorian, other Disney Plus Star Wars shows, and the forthcoming with The Mandarin and Grogu were compensated for the roles.
By the way, that Gene Share X post contains the actual court document and case citation if you are so inclined to check that out. By the way, a lot of these, that Park Place and many of the other references are below in the in the video description, so you can just go check them out directly.
Cool. What is a motion to compel and what just happened? A motion to compel is basically a legal way of saying they're not giving us what they're supposed to. Judge, make them. Carano's legal team filed this motion back April 2nd after 8 months of what they claim was stonewalling by Disney during the discovery process. That's why this is taking so long, because I was asking Troy, what's going on with this case?
And see, this is a typical tactic. You know, it is a stalling technique, which I think is like I say, it's standard operating procedure, but it's going to hurt them in the long run for a couple of reasons. One, it pisses off the judge. You don't want the judge against you, you know. Secondly, and we talked about this a bit last week, and I think I've mentioned a couple times on other streams throughout the week, that part of this case involves Gina Carano wanting to be reinstated as Cara Dune in the Mandalorian movie. They want to start filming the Mandalorian film while they are keeping her at arm's length and procrastinating on that case. But what ends up happening is, if the court decides, wait a minute, you need to shut down production because we might be telling you to reinstate her in her role, and then you have to go back and refilm a bunch of scenes and you need to add her to it. Either way, that's going to end up costing them a ton of money, whether it's because their production gets shut down and they're racking up interest payments on the loans they take out to finance the thing in the first place, or they've gone so far and now they have to scrap all that and film another movie, which is pretty much standard operating procedure now for Lucasfilm under Disney, but that's beside the point.
They'll rewrite it and Cara Dune will be the villain, and Grogu makes her head explode at the end.
I mean, at this point, I would not be. No, I would actually see Grogu joining the dark side on her side, because honestly, this is really how the fans are feeling about Disney.
So, in plain terms, her lawyers need access to Disney's internal data so a damages expert can calculate what Carano likely would have earned had she not been fired in 2021. The court agreed, finding that Carano's request for the paid data across Star Wars actors was reasonable, relevant, and necessary to establish lost income.
Yep.
According to the court document, the root substantive and material question relevant to the parties' claims and defenses is what information plaintiff needs on its own turn to provide her testifying damages expert in order to establish the amount of compensation she could have reasonably. Okay, basically what I just said. Okay, right. Except the more legalese. All right. This isn't just a minor win in the Gina Carano Disney lawsuit. Opens door for more discovery if the expert believes the first batch is enough. The order shows the court won't let Disney bury relevant information in the high-stakes battle by playing procedural games, Shayer said.
Yep.
Shayer said. Okay. So, I don't know. What do you think? They have 20 days. 20-day timeline is strict, but parties can agree to modify it as long as it doesn't violate the trial schedule. Interesting. So,
well, and that's another indicator that the judge is like, look, I don't want this stretching out, because look, this isn't just the two parties involved. This is also the judge and the court.
Could this hit court this month?
Yeah, I mean this
that's what I'm thinking here. From what I'm saying,
this ruling came in just last week. Yeah,
so they have 20 days to basically, because they're tired of the stalling. Pattern of disrespect
by the end of the month.
Pattern of disrespect is they're Disney. Who are you to tell us to do anything? That's the pattern of disrespect here, and
if the court gets the feeling that's what's being said to them, they'll be like, well, we'll show you who we are. We're the court who's going to decide for or against you. Oh,
so now Disney cares about money. Yeah. I'm telling you, it's best for Disney, especially current situation, for them to give her what she wants, reinstate her, and give her a show, Rangers of the New Republic. Yeah, just do it. But they don't. They won't do it,
I agree with you. All the fans agree with you, but that is not what Disney wants to do. It'll be interesting when Disney gets spanked by this case. And look, she doesn't even need to win. She just needs to get through discovery. because when the evidence comes out, Disney looks bad enough to the world as it is.
So here's what I think happened. Well, for starters, Gina didn't even know she was let go when the news broke. I think whoever over at Lucasfilm that leaked that to the press, and we don't know who it was. I know there was a rumor going around it was Pablo Hidalgo, but who knows who it was. And leaked the thing that a Lucasfilm spokesperson says that she had been fired and gave this whole big statement. I don't think Disney would have wanted that to come out, because here's what you can do. You can just say, oh, Rangers of the New Republic, it's been postponed, and we just didn't have her on this season contract. It doesn't outright fire her. Do you understand? Right. It's just that we're just not going to have her on the shows anymore. That way, if ever there becomes pressure like this stuff, they can say, oh, we always planned to bring her back, and we're already in the pre-planning stages of Rangers of the Republic. It's going to come out in 2 years. And then you can just bring her back, and everything's under the rug, or not, and at least doesn't seem like you fired her. But because that statement came out to the press, that now binded Disney, right? And it was someone at Lucasfilm that did it. We don't know who it was. I believe it.
And it doesn't matter because as far as anyone was concerned, it was coming out under the voice of Disney.
Now, I think she had been let go basically, but it wasn't like a full-on public thing. This happens all the time with television shows and movies,
And this is something that you need to understand. It's true in the entertainment industry as it is in just basic labor laws. There's a reason that if you are applying for a job and they reach out to your previous employer is very limited in what they can say. In fact, your direct manager usually will refer the person asking about you to the HR department, because they will engage legalese to say only the minimum because they don't want the possibility that you find out, oh, your previous employer is saying negative things about you. I don't want to hire you now, because you could sue that company and say they're preventing me from getting a job by saying things that are or are not true about you. And it's a form of slander.
Yep.
And if that is the case here, which it does seem to be, and I think she's waiting until she gets the discovery in this case, she'll have the evidence to then go after Disney for an additional case of slander.
Geekflex says it's not about what Disney wants to do, it's about what's best for Disney to do. But what does Disney like to do? What's best for Disney to do? Because I can tell you, Snow White was not in Disney's best interest.
I was going to say, Disney has been making decisions that are the exact opposite of in their best interest.
And maybe your point is maybe it's time they started
running this company.
Maybe it's time they started. Yes, but I don't think they've learned anything.
No, they have not.
This actually doesn't give me hope for Tron Ares. I really want that to be good. I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but it's Disney.
You know,
and Disney has a track
I'll
record.
say this about that. I was watching, and I highly recommend check out the most recent videos by Nerd Cookies about. Mostly it's been reactions to the trailer.
Yeah.
But one of the things she was saying is that for all the people that don't like Jared Leto, you should at least be thankful to Jared Leto, because he has been the one most responsible for making sure Disney focused on Tron and kept doing Tron. Otherwise, it would have just been shelved and obscured. Yeah. So
they wanted to give him a project, and he chose Tron. I remember that, because they were going to make a deal with Jared Leto for a movie. He picked. He wanted to be in a Tron, I think. This is
more Star Wars news. Yeah,
this is very interesting.
Yeah.
Part of me thinks this isn't going to happen, but we'll see. We'll know for certain if it happens, because there's a date.
Right.
But in a move that has set film preservation and Star Wars communities abuzz, the British Film Institute has announced that it will publicly screen the original 1977 cut of Star Wars, not A New Hope, not the 1997 special edition, but the raw and ultra classic that lit the spark for one of the most influential sagas in cinematic history. Wait a minute. George Lucas told me that version doesn't exist anymore.
Sure.
Yeah.
We all knew that was crap.
People had been bugging him about this forever. The historic event will headline the BFI's Film on Film Festival, a celebration of celluloid cinema and physical film stock scheduled to begin on June 12, 2025. The screening will showcase one of the few surviving dye transfer IB Technicolor prints produced from the original UK release of Star Wars in December 1977. The print has been stored for decades in the BFI's National Film Archive. Thank you, England. And this marks the first time in many years that the general public will have a chance to experience the film as it originally played in theaters. For longtime fans, this is monumental, since George Lucas began modifying the original trilogy in the late 1990s to align with the evolving Star Wars canon, adding digital creatures, altering iconic scenes.
Yeah.
And even changing who shot first. Yes, that's an altering of iconic
scene. I would argue that didn't even change the canon of Star Wars. All it did was it kind of ruined the storytelling. It really does.
Well,
the basic broad strokes of the canon have not changed.
The original theatrical versions of the films have effectively vanished from official circulation. The last official release of the unaltered cuts came in 2006 as a limited bonus feature on a DVD set using master source from the 1993 Laserdisc release. I'll explain to you these DVDs. So it was the second DVD release of Star Wars, the original trilogy, came with bonus discs. These bonus discs came with widescreen editions of the original theatrical trilogy. Do not get excited. These were non-anamorphic widescreen, which means they would not play properly on a widescreen television set. You'd get boxes everywhere. It was lazy. And don't tell me they couldn't have made them anamorphic. They didn't make them anamorphic on purpose.
Yeah.
Any company would have gladly just done it for Lucasfilm. They did that on purpose. So they were basically they were copies of the laser discs. That's what
they're being very careful to say there are no official releases, because there's plenty of unofficial releases out there. There's an outfit that is reconstructed the original theatrical releases of Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi, and in 4K.
Yep.
It is quite brilliant. If you have the savvy to do so, you can obtain them.
And I do want to make a point that this release, this theatrical showing, is this also official? That's the question mark. Since Disney acquired Lucasfilm in 2012, fans have speculated endlessly about the potential for a fully remastered high-definition release of the original cuts. Let me explain to you what I had read. I don't know if this is factual or not, but I remember that apparently 20th Century Fox had home video rights to the original theatrical release of Star Wars. I thought that might have been partially why Lucas did his special editions. They didn't have the rights for home video releases of Empire and Jedi, but Star Wars. But I assumed that when Disney purchased Fox, I thought, well, at least now we can get the original theatrical versions again on home media. That did not happen.
Right.
Because it would make the fans happy, and that's not what they're about.
Well,
anyway,
it certainly... Well, and see, they have the same vested interest in not releasing the originals as George Lucas did. If you are going to put together a new edit, a new cut, the frickin' Star Wars McClunky version, you have a vested interest in people wanting to get the newest one and not the original version.
Yeah, but here's what I don't understand. We talk about Star Trek original series, how they added the CG. And to be fair, I think some of their additions were actually worked rather well, but they still made the original versions available.
Exactly.
You still watch the original versions of those Doctor Who episodes we were talking about on Friday. If you don't want to watch this one.
And usually on the same disc, you would have the option of choosing the upgraded one or the original one. And you're absolutely right. Those original Star Trek, the original series, they did a great job of restraining themselves. In fact, I remember listening to an interview with Rick Sternbach and Michael Okuda saying there were things we could do, and we were like, we shouldn't do that. We should really restrain ourselves. What they were doing was, for the most part, cleaning up special effects, just little tiny things. Like there's this great, this is the one I always reference, that famous scene where Kirk is squaring off against the Gorn captain and this lizard creature, he's hissing and he's coming. Yep. And as he gets closer, those microphone style eyes blink.
That's
just
good.
one quick blink. And it's like literally you blink and you miss it. It's like, you're like, did I just see that? And of course it's Blu-ray. So you rewind and watch it again. You're like, holy cow, he just blinked,
And if you have the Blu-ray too, you can switch to the old version. So it's
exactly. If that blink bothers you that much, you can watch it without the blink too.
So the point is that so Disney, okay, since Disney required Lucasfilm, fans have been speculating. Those rumors have ranged from hopeful to absurd until now. The answer from Lucasfilm has been silence or worse, indirect denials. Yeah, Jon Favreau was saying, well, I don't think the kids want the original theatrical. Here's what it is, everybody. This is film history. This is about having original cuts available. This is about preserving what people witnessed in 1977, and for us, a modern audience, being able to go back and see what they had watched.
I will say this. I don't want to hear anyone at Lucasfilm or Disney speculating on what the fans want. The fans are screaming what they want, and you are actively ignoring them. Seriously. And who are the fans? It's not just this specific demographic of people that like Star Wars. There is a whole plethora of different kinds of fans. There are fans that are diehard Star Wars fans that collect the toys, that dress up in the costumes, that go to the conventions, play the role-playing games and the video games. But there's others that are general sci-fi and cinema files that care about the original releases because they care about cinema history. Those are fans too.
Well said, Geeky Geezers. Thank you.
There you go.
That's why we do it. Okay.
Don't expect us not, or me. Don't expect me to not have more rants coming tonight.
The BFI announcement date adds a new twist to the tale, and some are wondering whether this high-profile screening signals a potential shift in policy. Adding fuel to the fire was a strange event last month when the original cut of Star Wars appeared on Roku's Cinema Box streaming app for a few days before being abruptly pulled. No statement was ever given, leaving many suspect the stream may have gone live by mistake or as part of a test run. While fan-restored versions like Harmy's Despecialized Edition and 4K 77 have done tremendous work.
That's the one I was referring to.
In preserving the original trilogy through unofficial channels, nothing compares to seeing an actual IB Technicolor print projected in a theater. Yeah, this is the original print.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is not like something they converted, though. Frankly, these prints are famous for the rich color saturation, sharp detail, and physical texture. Something digital versions simply cannot replicate. You imagine how much that print is worth? That'd probably be priceless.
I can imagine.
But the Star Wars screening isn't the only retro gem to light up BFI's big screen. The festival will also include a 35mm screening of the U.S. version of the original Twin Peaks pilot, introduced by none other than Kyle MacLachlan himself. It will mark the first time that version of the pilot has ever been screened publicly in the UK, making it doubly appealing for fans of the cult television. You want to go to England, don't you? Right now.
I do not. I absolutely do.
No, but you would like it if they could at least maybe do a showing of these over
here. The fact is, I have my own sources, so I don't need to rely on that. But
think how cool it'd be to see Kyle MacLachlan introducing the Twin Peaks pilot.
Absolutely, stage, yes. Absolutely. That's absolutely wonderful. Link, I believe. I've dropped the link. It's still up on the screen for most of you guys, but I also have it down in the in the video description below. You can get over to that Park Place and see the article directly. Especially, I'm talking to you, Deleted Scenes, if you're interested in that mention of Twin Peaks.
Yeah. Tickets for the BFI Film on Film Festival go on sale May 6th, and demand is expected to be intense, particularly among diehard Star Wars fans who've been waiting for decades for an opportunity like this. Will this be a one-time only celebration of the film's original glory, or is Disney quietly testing the waters for something more? For now, it's a moment to celebrate for one night only. Star Wars will shine as it was first seen. No CGI drawbacks, no Greedo shooting first, no pure slice of cinematic history, projected the way it was meant to be. Okay.
If I can make a single speculation about this, and this is based on nothing but my own speculation, we did talk about that Roku, brief thing, and then it disappeared. In and of itself, there was wild speculation, but now with this following up, it does seem like, well, that might explain why they had it. and they weren't supposed to release it. It kind of flubbed this announcement, or kind of took something away from this announcement. Maybe the intent had been, if this does really well, maybe then we will release it.
Star Wars Celebration is happening again this spring, right?
I don't know. I haven't been following since Disney.
It's happening in Japan, of all places. But they are going to have a Star Wars Celebration, I believe, in May.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be very curious to see if they have an announcement about a video release of the original theatrical trilogy. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not even hopeful that it's going to happen, but it would be interesting if it did happen, and that's why they pulled it from Roku, because that might have been a streaming version they haven't released yet.
Could be. That's a great point. It's a great point.
Streaming on Disney Plus exclusively for 5 years. No!
Right.
Sorry, don't do that anyway. Just give us what we want. I would actually rebuy those. If I get the theatrical editions, I would rebuy them.
I know, me too.
Because I have those special editions, and with Hayden Christensen as Anakin, which made no sense.
No.
At the end of Jedi, he was restored to where he was, but no, he came back as an old man, so it should be the old man.
I was just going to say, the way he was the way he died. He died Anakin Skywalker.
It just doesn't make
sense. If you revert him back to, being a young adult, you take away the Anakin Skywalker who died in his son's arms.
Yes, it didn't make any sense. It was done in there specifically so you can't enjoy, because you have to have the prequels with it. It has to have a callback to the prequels. Anyway, moving on to...
I told you that I was going to have another rant coming. I told you.
Well, let me read the article, and maybe you don't have to be jumping the gun so quickly. Maybe this will be fantastic.
Are you saying I'm a hothead? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying. Like flame on. Yes, I'm sorry. Like Johnny Storm, right?
Yeah. Well, like Johnny Storm is supposed to be.
Now he says lukewarm on. I'm sorry. Anyway, fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Johnny
Mild Rain is what he is.
Yeah, Johnny. Fantastic Force Joseph Quinn says this Johnny Storm is less callous and womanizing than before. What? As Joseph Quinn joins the
So he's pointless. He's just some random beta male kid in the background.
As Joseph Quinn joins the MCU, he has a more evolved take on his character who debuted in 1961. Remember, men in the 60s were less evolved than the modern man. The Fantastic Four First Step star recently explained how his version of Johnny Storm contrasts from previous iterations of the Human Torch as this womanizing devil-may-care guy, which he doesn't find sexy these days.
Oh,
it's not about you finding it sexy these days, or maybe it is. I don't know, depending on.
I don't know which way he swings. Yeah.
Okay. It's
Hollywood, baby.
He's a man that leads with a lot of bravado, which can be an affront sometimes. But he's funny. Quinn told Entertainment. Yeah, that's the contrast, dude. Myself and Marvel Studio boss Kevin Feige were speaking about the previous.
Oh, there you go. There's your problem right there.
And where are we culturally? He was branded as this womanizing devil-may-care guy, but is that sexy these days? I don't think so. This version of Johnny is less callous with other people's feelings, and hopefully there's a self-awareness about what's driving that attention-seeking behavior. What are we doing here, man? Previously portrayed by Chris Evans in Fantastic Four and Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer in 2007, which I'm sure will end up being the definitive versions, as well as Michael B. Jordan in the 2015 reboot. First Steps director Matt Shakman agreed with Quinn that Johnny should be more than just Sue's hothead little brother. He is really smart, Shakman said, of the character. He on that spaceship for a reason, and I think sometimes people forget that in various comic stories, he's been one of the most heroic of them, even if he's undercutting his heroism at every turn through humor. He's Sue's brother.
They're going to turn him into Wesley Crusher. That's brilliant.
We got to talk about... I would do a good old days on Wesley Crusher, but it wouldn't be good old days then. He's Sue's brother, which means they are cut from a similar cloth. The only good thing about Wesley Crusher was when Picard told him to shut up. Remember? Shut up, Wesley?
Yeah.
Premiering July 25th, the cast of Fantastic Four First Steps is rounded out by Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic, Vanessa Kirby as Susan Storm, and Ebon Moss-Bachrach as The Thing, also starring Julia Garner, John Malkovich, Natasha Lyonne, and Paul Walter Hauser. I wonder who John Malkovich is playing. I'm hearing crickets from you. You don't care?
I have no idea. No, I don't care because I won't be watching this movie.
Troy, I heard there was a fan cut of Return of the Jedi ghost scene with both Anakin and Obi-Wan. Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? They might as well do take out Yoda and put in Grogu. Let's make them all younger. Yeah.
And we can have the some of the characters from the Acolyte too, and they could be there too. Okay. I think we all remember that before okay, you're all y'all. Why are y'all talking about this? We're talking about Fantastic Four now. Are you not excited for the?
I am not excited. Okay. I am the opposite.
Well, I'm talking to the chat. Excited. They don't seem to care, and it's disturbing me. Look at that. They're all four there, very blue.
Yeah, and why is it that the couple in the middle look so much older than they should? Just saying.
I don't know. I mean, Vanessa Kirby, I don't know how old she is. I know I've seen her in Mission Impossible movies as a sort of a villain character. I think she was also in that Napoleon movie that came out as the his wife.
If a lot of the other problems with this movie weren't in play, I wouldn't really have a problem with her casting, but I'm at the point where I'm going to nitpick everything. Pedro Pascal is way too old, and I hate to say it because this is really what the story is supposed to be. They're supposed to work with this. She's supposed to be way too young for him. It is supposed to be like Marion and Indy. That's supposed to be the relationship that they had. And they have up-aged her to avoid that, which takes away all... Look, they want to get messagey, they want to get preachy. You need to start with something to preach about.
Vanessa Kirby will soon grace our screens as the fourth iteration of Susan Storm Richards, the Invisible Woman, in the Fantastic Four First Steps. Usually they say third time's the charm, but in this case we're going to be the fourth time's the charm. And what? Wait a minute. You had the one from the aughts. It had a sequel, but that wasn't a reboot. That was just a sequel. And then you had the Fan Four Stick where Doctor Doom was exploding people's heads. If I recall.
There was also the one that was never released. The Corman.
Oh, the Corman one. Okay, so I guess it is fourth time. Okay, so
I guess it was released eventually.
Oh, it's a pun. I'm sorry, I'm thick-headed. Usually they say third time, but in this case we're going to say bet fourth time's the charm because it's Fantastic Four. And Kirby is about to be the best live-action Sue Storm yet, and she's definitely done with her Marvel Comics research in preparation for the role, which she will reprise in Avengers Doomsday. In a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly, not only did Kirby confirm she'd be pregnant in the upcoming Fantastic Four film, but that she'd be drawing from some of Sue's alternate personas from the comics, the villainous Malice. Here's what she had to say. Matt and I were really aware that there hasn't really been a mother with a baby in these superhero archetypes women have been getting. One of the things I love most from Sue's history is when she becomes Malice and all her dark stuff comes out. I was obsessed with that chapter of her life, so I wanted to make sure that there were tones of Malice in there with her and that she just wasn't a stereotype of a goody, sweet mother. In the classic Lee Kirby comics, Sue Storm was usually called the Invisible.
Because we can't have that, of course.
I mean, it's just Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. What do they know? Sue Storm. You know what I've
By
noticed?
the way, I think that's actually a great time to bring up the fact that there is zero family relationship between Vanessa and Jack. It's a coincidence that they're both named Kirby.
Do you think Marvel started to really go downhill once Stan Lee died? Because I don't think it's a coincidence that he passed on. I think before the Captain Marvel movie came out.
I think that's a confounding factor. I don't
probably
think
it's a confounding factor. It just seems odd.
You could almost say it's a coincidence.
Fine.
I don't think I don't think that Stan Lee really had that much impact on what they did.
I think symbolically it means something. Okay.
Possibly. Yeah. You could.
He was the last of the old men that created these comics, right? So
true.
Yeah.
Right.
Stan Lee described her powers as just turning invisible, and she was often the hostage member of the group. Later writers upped her power levels, adding invisible force fields of great strength. By the 1980s, she was a mother of a kindergarten-age son, yet her codename was still Invisible Girl. The circumstances of her changing her name to Invisible Woman involved her taking on a darker personality, starting with her transformation into Malice, the Mistress of Hate. Malice first appeared in 1985's Fantastic Four 280 during writer-artist John Byrne's celebrated run, dressed in a skimpy black leather fetish outfit. That won't be in the movie. Malice was the manifestation of the dark side of Sue Richards. She was brought forth by the psychic manipulation of their enemy, the Psycho Man, and the Hate Monger.
Right. She was literally controlled. She was literally mentally assaulted by them. Yeah.
The Psycho Man and the Hate Monger, those were the villain names?
Yep. Oh, Marvel has had a long history of those kinds.
Was Mr. Murder busy and he couldn't show up to
I
the
guess.
Yeah. They unleashed their pent-up frustrations over people viewing her as the team's weak link. This caused her powers to double along with her anger. As Malice, she attacked her family until Reed Richards used sexist verbal manipulation to snap Sue out of it. At one point he says, "Shut up, Susan," and literally slaps her. It works, but you'd think the world's smartest man would have found another way to restore his wife's personality than physical violence. In the aftermath of the Malice incident, Sue Storm learned to relish her powers and not limit them anymore. That made her the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four, of course. And she also finally changed her name to Invisible Woman after this ordeal. After 25 years of the Invisible World, the Malice persona popped up a few times, but not often. Writer John Byrne clearly loved taking original female Marvel heroines and unleashing their dark sides. Along with Chris Claremont, he did this to Jean Grey in the Dark Phoenix saga in Uncanny X-Men. After Malice, he'd unleashed Scarlet Witch's dark side in Avengers West Coast, but Susan's time as Malice was not revisited as Jean and Wanda's were. The Malice personas found new fans recently as a skin for Sue and Marvel rivals. Do you know what I think? I think this was just like a progenitor of the Dark Phoenix thing.
Yeah, very likely. But it's also a character development trope that I mean, it's not just with women either. I mean, we've seen it with Superman, the Red K thing, and every hero goes through their losing control, becoming a villain for a short time, realizing how dangerous they could be, and it's usually a character growth opportunity. Wasn't Malice seen as a bad idea? I don't think it was seen as a bad idea. I think there were some elements of it that were kind of handled badly. But the overall idea of it, actually not so bad. And this is what I think is being missed in this is once again, I'm going to draw the analogy between what they're saying about Malice and the character as depicted in this upcoming film, and Zack Snyder deciding that he wanted to put the Dark Knight Returns storyline before the entire history of the relationship between Superman and Batman. Again, you are looking to a story that you like so much without being willing to do the character development that makes that story plausible, let alone a masterpiece. You want to make your feminist story points. Well, go back and actually read those stories. Yes, there were things that were sexist about Mr. Fantastic, right? And Sue very much did take a very passive, submissive role. They both developed from that. They both learned and grew. Okay, if you want to help society, learn those lessons. Maybe show those lessons being learned. Just a thought, right? And this is something you could do over the span of, say, 4 films.
I have to say, I'm not excited about any of the cast, especially when they tease John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic.
Yep.
Which is what everybody wanted. And,
and keep in mind too, part of their marketing on this is to be very clear that this Fantastic Four is taking place in an alternate timeline. This is not the same timeline as anything else that we've seen in Marvel. This is not the same universe.
It's going to be multiverse stuff. Yeah.
It is not the same universe as the Avengers, anything else that we've seen. So what they're basically telling the audience is you really don't need to see this. It's a standalone thing. You could take it or leave it. This has nothing to do with anything that came before or anything that's going to come after it. Don't worry about it.
I know a lot of people, even as superheroes, this isn't necessarily Marvel's most popular team. I used to make a joke with my Marvel friends back when I was younger. They would pick on DC, and then I would just bring up the words Fantastic Four, and that would usually shut them up. But they do have the best Marvel villain, which is Doctor Doom.
Right.
And I mean, he's an iconic...
which is exactly what everyone assumed was going to be introduced in this movie. No, they're going to introduce Galactus instead. Oh, brilliant! It's just friggin' brilliant.
Yeah, let's see. They have heroes finding new powers and abilities due to anger or being pushed harder than they used to is a great idea, but sometimes fall short in bad writing. Yeah.
That is the problem. You always want there to be character development. You always want them to learn something, maybe improve, overcome adversity. But if you have bad writing...
But the Four in Doomsday, how does that work? We all know how it's going to work based on the casting for Doomsday. The multiverse is all going to mesh together. You're going to have Magneto and come in from the X-Men universe, and you're going to have these people coming from the Fantastic Four universe. It's all about universes colliding. That's what's going to happen in Doomsday. That's how. That's
kind of people that put together this Fantastic Four are the ones that are putting together. And keep in mind, Riri Williams is going to be in there too. So this is going to be a cluster frick, and nobody is going to want to see this. This is pretty much the death knell for Marvel Comics.
When Disney tanks, will Disney learn the lesson? I thought they would have learned the lesson with Snow White. But to be fair, these movies get put in development early on, so this was basically written... I think Hollywood is going to be upchucking a lot of message movies. Disney is the worst at the message movies. They've been doing it for years now.
Yep.
Speaking of companies that seem to be disappointing people lately, you want to post this? I won't spend too much time on this.
Thought I just did. There we go.
Yeah, you just did. It's just, Anyway, Nintendo clarifies Switch 2 GameCube controller will only work with online classic library. This is just kind of lame. I've been noticing for the past few weeks, people are screaming at Nintendo.
Yeah.
The way we would scream about Disney.
Yeah.
I think the main purpose around that is that they think that they upped I don't think they think. I think Nintendo did up the price of games, at least from some of their games, from $69.99 to from $69.99 to $79.99, and basically other companies will probably now fall suit, so that didn't help matters because we were already dealing with a $10 increase this generation, and now we think there's going to be more price increases. And but this right here, this is just lame. Nintendo has potentially dashed my Nintendo Switch 2 GameCube controller plans. As small print says, it'll only work with online classics library. In other words, it's only going to work with adventures with the app despite featuring the same connectivity as a Pro controller. So I'll try to explain to you how this works. Nintendo would make different controllers for each of their old game consoles. I gave you the history lesson last week, right?
Right.
And this was the GameCube controller. Now, Nintendo has already released controllers that you can buy. If you're a Nintendo Switch Online subscriber, you can pay for physical controllers to be sent to you. And they work with Nintendo Switch Online games. So I have 2 NES replica controllers that will work with Nintendo Switch Online games. But they'll work with other games too. Like if you have like an NES collection of games, like I have the Castlevania collection, you can actually play the games with the NES controller, which is kind of neat. So it doesn't just work with the online games you play. Same goes for the Nintendo 64 controller. You can actually play the Nintendo 64 controllers with some Switch games like Mario Kart. The Mario Kart 8, you can actually use the a Nintendo 64 controller like you would with the Mario Kart for the Nintendo 64. So it's kind of neat that you have these old-fashioned controller replicas, and they're very spot on to how the old controllers looked and feel, except now they're wireless, and you can use them with modern games that the modern games allowed. In fact, I was doing a test before the stream. I was trying out the Tomb Raider trilogy because I'm like, we never got Tomb Raider on the Nintendo 64, but now I can finally play Tomb Raider with a Nintendo 64 controller, and it sort of worked. I think I have to remap some of the buttons, but it's neat, and you can't do that with this controller. You can only use it with your online subscription games, GameCube games, and this is just lame. That's all.
Yep.
I don't have any other words.
That's exactly the word I was thinking, yes.
Because a GameCube controller could theoretically work with a lot more games than the other controllers I mentioned, because it was sort of a precursor to the modern style controllers we have now. If you look at how the buttons are laid out, it's not so different from an Xbox controller. I mean, it's a little different, but it's missing a couple of trigger buttons and other things. But you can see the progenitor right there of what it would be like. But yeah, I guess I have nothing left to say about that. I just think it's kind of lame. But you could have. It would have been cool if you could have used this. People were angry though because they wanted to play Super Smash Brothers with this controller, because the GameCube controller is considered whenever they have Super Smash Brothers tournaments, people like using GameCube controllers. And Nintendo even released wired GameCube controllers for the Switch that you could actually use to play Super Smash Brothers with. And now they have this wireless one that you can only use for Switch 2 online. Now, is it possible they can do an update of the device and now you can use it with everything? Yes, but I don't know why they just don't have this ready to go from the get-go. And I see it as short-sighted.
Very. It's never a good idea to piss off your fan base.
Yeah, Age Boomer, they upped the game price to $90 or $80, but then this is my current game generation sucks. Yeah, they made things worse. I'm not gonna lie. This was if they had just stuck with the $69.99, and if they had released the console at $399.99, I don't think people would be complaining as much. I have other reasons I'm not a big fan of the Switch 2 that go beyond that. I don't like this Nintendo Switch Online GameCube games. As far as I'm concerned, those GameCube games should be remastered and re-released on as new games. You could clean them up like you did, like they did with Metroid Prime remastered, and we could just play them now. But oh well. They leave money on the table. I've been fighting controller issues on PC. It's BS. It ain't not rocket science. I don't know what to tell you. I heard once that Xbox controllers work well with PC games, but I don't know. I've not actually tried it myself. Okay. European Commission targets in-game currency in children's video games.
This one kind of surprised me because I thought we'd covered something very like this last year.
Really?
Yeah, I had heard that somewhere in Europe or something they were saying they were going after these companies that had like loot boxes and stuff in games.
Yes, they were looking into it, and now I think they brought a case. Yes, I think.
Okay.
Now they're bringing it to court. Like they already weren't liking it. I think they were discussing it. They were saying this is the problem, and now they're actually now bringing it into direction. I think that's the difference. The European Commission announced on Friday a new customer protection probe into Star Stable Online, a children's video game where players explore an online world by riding horses and competing with friends in obstacle races. That sounds fun. Yeah. However, players who spend real money gain advantages within the game. To acquire items, players, mostly children, must exchange real money for in-game currency known as star coins. Mom, can I borrow the credit card? It's only $5. Exactly. And then suddenly it's $50,000 on the credit card a month later. Yeah. I'm sorry. The European Commission, in collaboration with the Consumer Protection Cooperation Network, which brings together consumer protection organizations from member states, has requested information from Swedish game developer Star Stable Entertainment AB to understand their commercial practices. The Swedish Consumers Association claims that several of these practices violate EU consumer protection laws, citing pressure to buy through advertisements, lack of transparency in transaction, and the use of influencers to promote products to children. In a statement statement, the EU Consumer Protection Group noted consumers, especially children and teenagers who are regular video game users, remain very vulnerable to such manipulative and unfair practices, welcoming the Commission's first steps. The company has 1 month to respond to the request for information. Meanwhile, the Commission has issued guidelines for the use of in-game currency in video games, emphasizing the need for clarity, respect for withdrawal rights, and avoiding pressure, particularly with vulnerable users such as children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to put this in non-complex terms. I believe that this is a gotcha game, and gotcha games, in my opinion, are trying to get into the part of the brain that is also the gambler part of the brain. You know, it's about you having to spend money to get loot boxes, like in that one Star Wars game that EA put out, which they had to get rid of later on because I think Disney actually got angry about that. But, you know, I don't like in-game buying, but I also don't like, I have a suspicion that this is, there are people in the gaming industry that would like to turn it into a service, and I think there are people in the game industry that would like to turn it into an almost gambling type service, where you're spending lots of money to get that one sword, but then you get, it's like, I'll explain, let me give you another analogy. When I was a kid, we had these machines, these 25-cent machines, right?
Yep.
And they had these little toy tools in them. And I would get a quarter, and I would put the quarter in the machine, and I'd get a toy saw or a toy hammer. And I really desperately wanted the screwdriver to finish off the set because I was a little collector and I wanted all of them. And I kept putting quarters into this machine, and that stupid screwdriver never came out. And I eventually gave up. I ended up with all these other extras of like the hammers and the saws and whatnot. And it taught me, and that's what this is reminding me of, because I was a kid and I kept plunking money into the machine. Yeah.
I had a similar situation with when I'd stay with my grandmother, the Kroger by her, we used to go shopping, and I'd get a quarter from her to use in one of those machines. For me, it was, they had, it was Spider-Man and the Hulk.
Oh, that's
really
cool.
There was 4 items you can get. One was a Spider-Man magnet, one was a Hulk magnet, and a Hulk and a Spider-Man like plastic gloves. Think about the kind of gloves that you see them use, the disposable plastic gloves, you know, at the fast food places, or like when women are doing their hair, it comes, you know, for putting the dye in your hair and stuff. And it was printed to look like Spider-Man hand, or like green like the Hulk. Well, I wanted 2 of the Spider-Man ones, so I could be, you know, I could add that to my Spider-Man costume, right? Stupid, you know, 8-year-old Troy, but whatever. I kept getting the Hulk gloves and the magnets. And I got one Spider-Man one, and I wasn't getting the second one, but it was a quarter a week, and my grandmother didn't mind. And finally I did get them. When I got older and my brother was going through a similar thing where he wanted something, you look at these things as an older kid and you go to the manager and you're like, hey, what is your distributor for the machines? Oh, it's such and such, you know, blah blah blah. They work with carnivals and this and that. Okay. And then I would find out how to get in touch with them and give them a call and say, hey, can you help me out here? You know? Okay, well, you'd have to buy a quantity of this, that, and the other. Okay, sure. You know, and you know, then you could go and you can pick through and get what you want, and you could sell off the rest. And, you know, I guess that doesn't really help much when it's a digital commodity in a video game, though, does it?
Yes, just mix the screwdriver, Boomer. Very funny, man. Anyway, Jessica Ardo says,
if I was a relative of yours back then, I know what I'd get you for Christmas. I'd go to you know, whatever Hobby Lobby or whatever, where they've got the tools for kids, the whole tool set, and then say, boom, here you go, and you could use them to actually make things with.
There you go. I would have thought that would have been cool. This also includes games like World of Tanks, some Call of Duty, and Fortnite. Yeah, I mean, they're going after anything that kids might play. To be fair, I don't think kids are supposed to be playing Call of Duty. That's an M-rated game, but that still doesn't stop them. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. Europe's still going after this. It's not coming from us, but if Europe puts down heavy laws in this, the companies will probably have to follow it. They say Activision and other companies are looking very carefully at this because they put a lot of money into this. Again, I don't know if this is going to affect live service games too, that, things like Concord, which of course went under because of otherwise. But I think they make a lot of money, like that Marvel game we just mentioned. You can buy skins for the characters. Now, to be fair, I'll say this: if you in that Marvel game, you can actually just buy the skin. You can buy the skin for this much money. That's at least transparent. But if it's like a loot box or something where you might get the skin, it's random.
Right.
I could see people having a problem with that, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see what the European Commission does this. It's examining this. And they're going to be doing a Digital Fairness Act. That should include movies, whether or not you own the movies you buy, maybe. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
Digitally,
yeah.
I don't know,
Good
maybe.
Point. Good point.
Okay. Here we go.
All right, let's get into this.
It's not that we're getting political, but he is the sitting president, so we have to talk, and it is affecting the world around us. Trump clears path for Nintendo Switch 2. What?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to go down in price? No, it's just not going to go up in price. Anyone here pre-ordering a Switch 2? I'm just curious.
I don't really understand why, after what's happened with previous pre-orders, why anyone would be pre-ordering anything from these companies.
Well, I have to tell you something. You may want to pre-order because the scalpers are going to be selling these things for a lot more money on eBay. Of course, that might be why people try. Actually, I'll say this. I think Nintendo does have. I mean, people are picking on Nintendo, fair enough, but I think they have done other things where they're trying to prevent scalping, like they're trying to make sure people aren't buying like 10 of these things, but we'll see. In a sudden, almost out of the blue, high-stakes pivot move, President Donald Trump has announced a sweeping rollback of tariffs, an unexpected move that might have just cleared the path.
I'd like to interrupt there and point out that this is from Smash JT, and I like Smash JT. I suspect he is probably taking some of this from other sources.
Yes.
But this is not a pivot move. Anyone who understands what's happening with these tariffs knows this was the plan all along. But whatever, we'll get into that later.
For days, the gaming community has been a tad on edge after Nintendo of Japan stated they were pausing U.S. pre-orders for the Switch successor, citing uncertainty around Trump's escalating tariff policy. The situation appeared even more dire when country-specific import duties reached upwards of 46% for some regions, threatening to jack up the launch price of the new console or delay it entirely. It could theoretically have cost $750 or more just for the console. I'm not buying that. This is like Neo Geo prices.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but as of today, those concerns seem to have been completely lifted. Trump has officially signed an executive order implementing a universal 10% tariff across all countries, well, except China, which will now face a whopping 125% rate. According to the White House, this sort of 90-day plan to rebalance trade relationship and cool the panic. Be cool. Everything is going to work out well. The USA will be bigger and better than ever. Trump posted on Truth Social. Nintendo hasn't made any formal announcements as of yet, but I'd imagine the logistic talks with Nintendo have now resumed retailers across the country. So they're probably going to be doing this pre-order. They're probably going to announce a pre-order date. While the console's price won't likely be reduced, let's be honest, it's Nintendo. This move helps ensure it won't be inflated, at least due to government policy. This win for gamers right now. The bigger concern now is whether Nintendo, who has been facing growing criticism for its increasing profit-focused decisions, will choose to keep pressing with higher-priced games, upwards of $79.99 USD before tax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me interject here. So first, let's be very clear what's happening. And why this is happening. Why is Nintendo? Well, Nintendo is a Japanese company. That one actually makes a lot of sense. But by and large, why are most things being made in other countries and then imported to the United States? Because they're not being made here. Why are companies not making things in the United States? Because it is cheaper to make it in other countries where they don't have to deal with our labor laws, our minimum wage, any of that sort of thing, or taxation, right? So when you get a cheaper product from another country, what you are basically saying is, I don't care if my neighbor is out of work, can't get a manufacturing job, people can't get a so-called living wage, right? I would rather pay literal slave labor for someone in a sweatshop in another country, and I'm okay benefiting from someone else's slave labor as long as I don't have to pay an extra $10 for my video game.
Well,
that's really what we're saying, and if you understand the global market, you understand that tariffs are a negotiation tactic. You are being unfair in the way that we're trading, and it's a win-win scenario. If the company raises the prices because of this, well, then maybe people stop buying that stuff. Maybe they find an alternative that's made in the United States, which just helps our economy. The company realizes now I'm losing money. Gee, maybe it would be beneficial for me to have a factory in the United States making this stuff, employing, U.S. labor.
But even Microsoft, I don't think they make the Xbox over here, even though it's an American company.
Exactly. But what company does make their product? What Japanese company makes their product here in the United States?
What?
Honda.
Interesting.
You want to buy American? You buy a Honda. And if you've been listening and not judging and using the rational part of your brain to analyze, Trump has talked about the idea of a tax benefit, kind of like anyone who has a mortgage. You can claim the interest on your mortgage on your taxes. It's actually a huge benefit that helps people who want to own their own home. He wants to do the same thing for car owners who buy American cars.
Right.
Well, if you go and you do a little search to find what cars by percentage are the most percentage American made, it's Hondas.
Troy, there was Bandai USA for some reason they shut down in the early 2000s. I remember Bandai USA. They used to release all the discs over here. They must have made them over here.
I thought you were talking about the toy company, because
it's the same company.
Because their toys sucked. They were just crap.
Well, no, they have an anime branch as well.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, they also do anime. In fact, sometimes they would make toys based. In fact, actually, that's interesting you mentioned that, because sometimes the animes they made were made with the hopes of selling toys based on the animes. And there's a famous thing with Cowboy Bebop where they told the director, "You can do whatever you want with this show, just include these vehicles in it."
Yeah.
So it became like this cherished anime, but it
kind of sounds like what they did with like He-Man and G.I. Joe and stuff like that back in the 80s. Yeah.
Troy is absolutely right. Just today at the grocery store, strawberries from Canada, $4.35. American strawberries, $1.49. Look at that.
And that is exactly how you do it, right? You go, well, I'll and here's something else to remember. When your crap is, I don't care if it's food you need to survive or cheap tchotchkes that you need to decorate for the holidays, if you have it being shipped in from another country, well, what happened back in 2020? Do you remember that summer where we had a whole bunch of ocean liners all parked off the coast? They couldn't land because, I don't know, they didn't have enough Lysol to clean things off.
They were still parked off in 2021.
Yes. So, but guess what? All the companies here in the United States had no problem distributing their products. A lot of companies learned the lesson then. A lot of companies haven't yet. Now they are, because this is basically the same thing. It's just saying, look, maybe you should bring your industry back to the United States. The people that are buying it are in the United States. Maybe the ones making it should be in the United States. Just a thought.
Look at that glorious console, like something out of 2001: A Space Odyssey, right?
Oh, and I did want to comment on what Nate said about not pre-ordering anything. Absolutely right. Do you know what a pre-order is? It's me giving this big multi-million-dollar company a loan. I give them my money. They sit on it collecting interest while I sit and wait, twiddling my thumbs with nothing until they finally get around to putting out a product that they could have just put out and sold to me. No, there is no defense for these multi-million-dollar companies taking my money.
Yes, but I wanted to say that Nintendo had a release date. Coming out June.
That release date is the date they should start taking orders. Done.
Well, okay. Anyway, it's just normally in the past.
When you're ready to ship, you can have my money.
Okay, but this has been going on since I pre-ordered my Nintendo 64 back in 1996 at Toys R Us. They said, "Give me $10 down, and you'll get your." Oh wait, I didn't have to pay for the full amount, did I? Never mind.
That's very different from a pre-order.
Yes,
that's a down payment. That's a little different.
Okay. I work in the adult beverage industry. We are still waiting for a shipment of Remy Martin Contact that is sitting on a boat off the coast of New York. Well, we'll get it someday. Yeah. This is Troy. When it comes to Bandai USA, I'm not sure if they were making the toys, the model kit, and the VHS DVDs, and anime shipping and stuff. I don't know either, but I did remember when they shut down. Bandai USA was very good at releasing. They would release anime by volume, but then they would do like a greatest hits line that was very good. I own several of them. Interesting. In fact, I was very happy because Ghost in the Shell standalone complex was a joint production, I think, or joint license between Bandai and Manga Entertainment USA, and I was like, oh, please, I don't want Manga Entertainment USA to release this, and it ended up being Bandai, and I was very happy. I think they put
So you're saying their DVDs are good? It's not like, they suddenly develop a disc rod or something?
They were very high-quality discs. I still have them, but they don't make them anymore because they stopped.
Something to be said for quality products, right?
Yes. In fact, the rare thing now they started making things even for the U.S. and Japan and shipping them out over here, and then it was like few and far between. It basically it wasn't what it was. Oh wait, let me go back. We're not on William Shatner yet. Do the PS5 article. Wait,
did I do the right one or the?
You did the right one. I flubbed it.
No, I did the.
I flubbed it.
Let me back up. Let me do the. This is.
That's the next one. It's a short one. Park. Okay.
Oh yeah. This is again. This we're not going to go too much
Park
into
Place
this
premium commentary. Is that
because
what it is?
This is premium content.
Yes.
I recommend you go over to that Park Place. Check out this article. Their commentary.
It relates to the PS5,
and it's worth the subscription to that Park Place.
Here we go.
This is just one example of it. Definitely go check them out.
Now let's go to the one thing everyone's waiting for, which is William Shatner.
Did you like that thumbnail I did with the boss glasses?
Yes. Yes. Hold on. Where's the story now? I can't find it. There it is. Okay. I have to tell you that the ghost face with the black eyes. This is like something out of a Japanese horror movie. I don't like it. It's throwing me off. It's I'm going to be seeing that in my dreams tonight. Thank you. Anyway, William Shatner shreds woke mob erasing history. Huh? This one kind of threw me for a loop. In fact, I think was Doomcock talking about it, I think. I don't know.
Yes. Yeah, a couple of outlets have been talking about this.
Okay, so William Shatner shreds woke mob erasing history. Paramount censors the original series on streaming service. Others like Christopher Lloyd of Back to the Future fame acknowledge okay, well, family. Okay, well, I don't know. Not with The Star Trek legend seems fully in charge of his ex-musings. What the heck?
I don't know what.
I'm having technical difficulty. Give me a second. I didn't get the beginning of the article. Okay, there we go. No, I did get the beginning of the article. What the heck? Oh, some actors use publicists overseas. Oh, to oversee the reading feed. Okay, yes. Feeds. That one sentence above that makes.
We can teach you how to read, Boomer. That's
no,
not
I didn't have that sentence because I was writing at the picture. Okay, others like Christopher Lloyd, Back to the Future fame acknowledge family members help flesh out their accounts. Not William Shatner. Yes, William Shatner is in charge of his own X account. The Star Trek legend seems fully in charge of his X musings. You can feel his personality in every post. This week, Shatner took aim at a cultural scourge many of his peers ignored for far too long. The 94-year-old targeted the erasure of history during the post-George Floyd era, a time when progressives attempted to throw the past into the dustbin.
Right.
Classic TV episodes got memory hold for sharing inappropriate jokes. Statues got vandalized and torn down. Beloved authors like J.K. Rowling got attacked for sharing the wrong opinions, even if said opinions are held by the majority. That effect has faltered in recent years. The election of President Donald Trump partly reflected that. We're also seeing the return of ribald comedy, much to the media's chagrin. Shatner hasn't forgotten about what he dubbed the wokies, and he has a personal stake in the matter. He's right, and most Hollywood stars stood down rather.
Well, wait a minute. What he says is contained in this X post of his, where he says it's called presentism, and it was used to wreak havoc on history several years ago when statues were torn down, books were banned, and things renamed to prove how progressive the world has become. Just listen to the opening monologue of Star Trek: The Original Series on Paramount Plus.
Yes, on Paramount Plus. Now, what was his complaint about this? I think he was saying they muffled to boldly go where no man emphasis added has gone before. Later Trek iterations tweaked the line to say where no one has gone before, starting with Star Trek: The Next Generation in the 1980s. Now, I remember at the time thinking that was a PC move, but then they explained it in Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country, because it wasn't supposed to refer to just humans anymore, right? Yeah. The Federation.
Well, no, actually, wait a minute. See, herein lies the problem. Because in Undiscovered Country, that's when Shatner, wasn't it? I think
Shatner says that boldly go where no man or no one.
No man, no one has gone before. Okay, so this is them
acknowledging Klingons and other alien races. Yes, that's what he's doing there.
That's not what he's doing.
Well, what is he doing then?
Think through the language here, okay? Because if you go from no man to no one, you're not talking about other races. You're really just talking about the difference between men and women. Oh, it's not just men, it's men and women. So no one. If you say no one, you're saying that aliens that have already been there, they're no one. It was no one's been there until the humans got there. It's just us. This was after Star Trek VI, when they were just accusing the Federation of being a Homo sapiens only club, right?
Yes.
But that's exactly what that line is. When you say where no one has gone before, what about the aliens that live there? Are they no one? No one was there until the humans showed up. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think so.
This is language. This is important. However, his main point is not that. His main point is this is how it was recorded. This is how the monologue was done, and now you are purposely editing it to obscure it. So if you were progressive when you went into the Next Generation and made it where no one has gone before, and that was so progressive, well, now you've just taken away your own progressive movement by having there be no change, by forgetting the past.
Troy, you and Boomer are saying the same thing.
You've actually come from anywhere.
I think we were, Geek Flag. But I don't know what he's talking about here. And this is where they were making a point about Shatner not balancing his own account. So I don't subscribe to Paramount Plus, but another family member does. So I went on there real quick to find out what's the censorship. So I forgot what episode I clicked on. It was an important one. I mean, they're all important, except for Spock's brain. But
but that was a bad episode.
Oh, it was Mirror Mirror. That was the episode I clicked on because I'm like, let's see if they mess with this intro. And I'm listening to this intro, and he says where no man has gone before, and I'm thinking they didn't change the line, and I'm thinking, was it that man was more pronounced in the version he said and they dialed down the sound?
It sounds like, he's saying it was muffled.
I don't know, though. Maybe he just had a bad internet connection at that point because it didn't sound that off to me. So I don't know. Later Trek.
I'm gonna take him at his word because I don't subscribe to Paramount Plus, and I won't.
Ex-users told Shatner's immortal phrasing remains intact. So I don't know what he was getting at. Now it's possible that since he said that line over and over, he must know it better than anybody else, and maybe it is less emphasized. But it sounded okay to me, so I wasn't exactly sure what he is complaining. Maybe it was more pronounced. I don't know.
And I do like that he follows up with a reference to Little House on the Prairie. Obviously, you were not around when the Wokies not to be confused with
Yes.
the Wookiees,
Yes.
coerced the Library Association to change the name of Laura Ingalls Wilder's Literary Award to a generic name because of presentism and their objection on how Native Americans were depicted. Really. But
this.
I did not, I was unaware of that, but see, apparently he knows this stuff and he remembers this stuff. And he's right. It is, I had never heard of presentism, but it certainly makes sense. It's
I think
self-descriptive.
Well, we can start using it now since Shatner.
Yeah.
How's that?
It's self-descriptive because it literally is obscuring the past, killing it if you have to, which is exactly what the postmodernists are doing.
Do you know what I think would have been really funny if during the original Star Trek Original Series episode he says "where no," and then they substitute Patrick Stewart saying "one," and then it goes back to Shatner. Like really, like
you know what? At this point, I just say, to boldly go where no, whatever the hell you want to insert here has gone before.
Star Trek on Pluto TV has the intro intact. Yeah, I don't know. So it seemed okay to me. So I don't know. Maybe after he complained, they reset it. That could have happened too.
It is possible too. Yeah.
Maybe they got ahead of this and they said put the old versions up. I don't know. All right.
Well, Darth Plato says I've been fighting against presentism for 20 years. Well, that's just it. I mean, as someone who cares about history, you always are. You almost always are.
So here we go. Skydance. The gift that keeps on giving.
Yes. Oh, yes. Here we go. I'm sorry. I'm getting it posted.
This merger's never happening, is it? I keep thinking it's happened, and then I see
they are trying everything they can to torpedo it. They really are.
The much anticipated $8 billion merger between Skydance Media and Paramount Global has officially entered a 90-day extension period, a move built into the original agreement signed last summer. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of if Legendary Pictures was trying to buy out Warner Media.
Huh.
Because Skydance works with Paramount and they release stuff through Paramount, but they're not owned by Paramount. Kind of like Legendary Pictures makes deals with Warner Brothers to release the Dune movies. Yeah. And to be fair, Skydance does good stuff. That Jack Reacher show on Amazon, that's a Skydance series.
Yep.
In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if the Jack Ryan series was also a Skydance series. Okay, it goes on to say, while procedural nature, the delay highlights mounting uncertainty as the company awaits full regulatory clearance, particularly from the Federal Communications Commission. Although both the SEC and the European Commission have already given their blessing to the deal, the FCC's review process remains ongoing. According to a February SEC file, the agreement allows 2 automatic 90 days extensions if all closing conditions, except for regulatory approvals, have been satisfied or waived. With the first of these now in effect, industry insiders are close to watching how the situation unfolds in Washington. One key complication is an ongoing $20 billion lawsuit filed by President Donald Trump against CBS News, a Paramount subsidiary. The lawsuit stems from a 60 Minutes interview with then Vice President Kamala Harris, which Trump alleges was deceptively edited to mislead viewers during the 2024 election cycle. Well, there has to be a way to prove that, right? They have the
there is, because they actually released the unedited version. Don't understand why, but the fact that it did pretty much proves it.
The president claims that the altered segment disadvantaged his campaign and amounted to election interference. His legal team argues the editorial choices were intentional and designed to protect his political opponents. At the same time, a conservative watchdog group known as the Center for American Rights has filed a complaint with the FCC accusing CBS News of news distortion, a serious charge that could impact CBS's broadcast credentials. So basically, this is just the news division mucking it up for everybody else. That's what it sounds like here.
I mean,
does the news division make money? I mean, I don't... In response, the FCC launched a formal inquiry and requested unedited footage materials related to the Harris interview. CBS complied and released the content, maintaining that the edits were standard for clarity and timing. So let's see. While the merger is not blocked, the road ahead has become more complex. Industry observers note resolving these legal and regulatory matters could help accelerate FCC approval. Meanwhile, the parties involved have agreed to mediation regarding the lawsuit, a move that may signal willingness to resolve the dispute without further courtroom drama. For now, Skydance Paramount merger remains in a holding pattern. With the automatic extension in place, the companies and the public will be watching closely to see how both the FCC's review and President Trump's lawsuit impact the timeline. Thoughts?
Yeah, I absolutely think that CBS is CBS, Paramount, however you want to look at it, is in a very, very bad circumstance. They have really pissed off all the wrong people. Just like earlier when I was talking about Disney and the Gina Carano case, you don't want to piss off the judge that you are looking to side with you on something. Well, they've pissed off the entire administration, which is necessary for them to be able to get a merger approved, and that's no bueno for them. Unless, as some people have suggested, maybe CBS doesn't want to be bought by Skydance, which is probably because they know Skydance is going to want them to be profitable. So a lot of people are probably going to be losing their jobs if this merger does go through. So, but this is just speculation that there might be some agents within CBS purposely trying to torpedo this deal. But whether or not that's the case, yeah, this deal isn't happening anytime soon, the way things are going.
Are we going to get Sonic 4 and get the most powerful Mecha Sonic go head-to-head in an all-out fight? I don't know. Memory serves, I believe Mecha Sonic was used in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, the game. Metal Sonic came in Sonic CD. I kept confusing the two as the same thing, but they are not. Metal Sonic, Mecha Sonic. You know?
Yep.
Okay. You know what I'm talking about? Sonic.
Vaguely, okay. Yeah.
They put Sonic on the thing because that's like Paramount's most popular thing at the moment. The other most popular thing they have is Mission Impossible.
Oh, yep. Let me hit the enter button. There we go.
All right. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Paramount Pictures unveils trailer as Ethan Hunt set for one last wild ride on May 23rd. So Paramount Pictures has unveiled trailer for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, which will launch in theaters May 23rd. Check out the trailer above, where you can see Hunt facing his most dangerous enemy yet in the form of an AI known as the Entity. The pick rounds out the plot set up in the previous film, with Hunt now in possession of the key necessary to defeat the Entity. Before he can do that, he must collect his team to find the sunken Russian submarine that houses the source code needed to destroy the technology. Yeah, because the trouble is that the U.S. government doesn't want to destroy the AI. It wants to use it itself. So he has to basically, all the governments of the world want this technology, but this thing is actually dangerous. Do you understand?
Exactly.
In the trailer, Hunt can be seen grabbing onto a fighter plane, running from a Kremlin bombing, and gassing a security briefing, amongst other stunts. Final Reckoning will see Cruise reunite with director Christopher Corey from a screenplay he wrote with Eric Jenderson. It's the 8th installment of the Mission series. Cruise, Haley Atwell, Ving Rhames, Simon Pegg, Vanessa Kirby, Isai Morales, Palm Clemente, Henry Zerny, Angela Bassett, and Rolf Saxon reprise the roles. A brief trailer put out late last year saw Bassett revealed to be reprising her role as Erica Sloan. The film has been widely speculated as a Cannes Film Festival launch. Cruise will be in London in the days before the festival to collect the BFI Fellowship and take part in the Q&A event. The film icon was at CinemaCon last week to show footage of The Final Reckoning and held a moment of remembrance for his late Top Gun co-star Val Kilmer. Trailer looked good. It actually did a lot of callbacks, even going back to the first Mission Impossible movie. They're almost making it seem like this is the last one, though, is it? You think?
It sounds like it's the last one for him.
Okay.
Whether or not it's the last in the franchise remains to be seen.
All right, but yeah, it's 8 movies. It's a long run if you think about it.
Yeah.
I remember I loved seeing Ghost Protocol do what Geek Flag does. I remember when Ghost Protocol came out in theaters, and is that a YouTube? What is that?
What is what? Oh no, I was responding to something from
Oh,
Nate.
okay.
previous topic. I didn't want it.
I got you. All right. So, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, set to release on May 23rd. I have to say, it's been too long. I was expecting the follow-up a lot sooner than this, but I will probably go see this because I'm a big fan of this series. It has been consistently good, which is more than I can say for what happened with the Bond franchise. So I recommend, if you ever have time, Troy, I would watch all these start to finish.
I did see the first one. I will get around to them.
Yeah. The first one's good too. It holds up. I still like 2. People think that's the Birdman, and I would argue about that. But I still like 2. It's this. Let me see. What do we got here? China threatens to ban U.S. Hollywood movies in explosive retaliation to Trump tariffs.
Yeah.
Hollywood may finally be paying the price for its years of one-way compromise with China. We all knew this was coming to an end.
Yeah.
This couldn't last.
Maybe forever. Not because it was going to be tariffs or anything, but yeah, we were saying this all along. You're making movie, and this actually, I think it was I can't remember. Was it No, it was Valiant Renegade did a breakdown on this, and he pointed out that this is meaningless. This means nothing. The China audience, the revenue that they're getting from China is like 3% of the global market for any film that they put out. China has not been consuming American films for a long time now.
Yeah.
And yet companies like Disney have been bending over backwards to make films palatable, to try and get as much China dollars as possible, and nothing they've done has helped. All they've done is piss off China. China doesn't want their woke crap, and so they aren't going to see it.
In a stunning escalation of U.S.-China tensions, reports out of Beijing suggest that Chinese Communist Party is preparing to ban American Hollywood movies from its theaters, a move designed to retaliate against President Donald Trump's tariff increases on all Chinese imports. The potential ban could cost Hollywood over $500 million annually and reshape the global entertainment landscape. But this isn't just economic warfare, it's cultural. The United States-China trade dispute is no longer a threat on the horizon. It's happening in real time. On April 2nd, 2025, President Donald Trump declared a national economic emergency and announced sweeping new tariffs on foreign imports. The blanket policy includes 10% baseline tariff on all imported goods. The real target is unmistakable China. Imports from Beijing face an additional 34% country-specific tariff, bringing the total levy to 44% on Chinese goods. The policy takes full effect April 9th. Trump isn't stopping there. In a speech on the president warned that an additional 50% tariff stacking on top of the existing hikes would impose unless China backs down from its retaliatory threats. That tariff could push the total cost of Chinese imports nearly 100%, effectively severing normal trade between the two economic powers. Beijing is already signaling how it plans to strike back. Chinese state official has condemned tariffs as economic blackmail. Countermeasures matching the scale of the severity. Okay, in 2024, while some of these countermeasures are expected to focus on agriculture and technology, one of the most controversial tools under consideration is a ban on American films, a cultural sledgehammer designed to inflict pain not just financially, but symbolically. In 2024, Hollywood films earned $585 million in the Chinese box office, while down from past years. That revenue remains critical to the bottom line for major studios. A ban would not only cut off hundreds of millions in annual earnings, it would signal that China no longer sees Hollywood as a valuable partner. This wouldn't be the first time China restricted access over political disputes, but the current move is far more sweeping. A full-on Hollywood blackout would represent the final unraveling of fragile partnership, one that Hollywood spent decades cultivating through self-censorship, appeasement, and cultural compromise. Now China is making it clear access is not a right, it's a leverage. I don't think China's ever compromised on their demands.
Nope.
That's the thing. It's all... For more than a decade, Hollywood has reshaped itself to suit Chinese sensibilities. Films like Iron Man 3 and Transformers: Age of Extinction featured additional scenes for Chinese audiences. Scripts were combed over for politically risky material. Even maps, flags, and throwaway lines were altered to pass the Chinese censorship board. They tried it with Top Gun, and then they didn't do it. Remember that? They took out the Taiwanese flag from the jacket, and then they put it back in. Just period. And then China got angry, wouldn't show the movie after that. Remember?
Yeah. And again, like I said, Hollywood has done everything they can to try to appease China, and it's never enough, and China doesn't care. And the more they bend over and try to appease China, the more they piss off their American audience. And that's why Hollywood finds themselves, I mean, it's a small part, but it is a part of why Hollywood finds itself in the current situation it is, you know. And look, what you should be doing, Hollywood, make good movies that Americans want to see. And if you are then also able to export the films to other countries and make a little extra money on them, great. But this is your audience. Maximize that audience. And then find ways to make additional funds off of what you've already done. Like, I don't know, physical release, commercial release, various streaming services and licensing, just saying, things that you used to do and aren't doing anymore, which might be why you're losing all those revenue streams. And yes, then say, hey, China, do you want this movie? No? Okay, screw you. Because Britain will take it, and guess who else will take it? Taiwan will take it. Vietnam will take it. Japan will take it.
They're acting like Taiwan's a country.
Yes. I have no problem saying it, and I will not apologize to China in Mandarin.
Taiwan's gotten into making video games. They have one series called The Bridge Curse. It's a horror game. I have it on my Switch.
Is it good?
It's creepy. This creepy lady with black
hair. I don't like playing those games, but I do like watching people play them.
Well, you should look for The Bridge Curse. It might be a fun watch through.
Okay.
In 2023, domestic Chinese films accounted for over 80% of domestic box office revenue in China. The demand for American content is fading, not just because of its politics, because China now supplies its own heroes. Now here's the little subhead. I like this one. Captain America Must Die. Yep. A cultural flashpoint. I didn't even hear about this until now. Nothing illustrates this cultural pivot more than the bizarre but telling slogan, Captain America 4 must die in China. When Marvel announced Captain America Brave New World would debut around the same time as the Chinese animated sequel, Niza 2, nationalist social media erupted. Supporters of Niza began calling for the boycott of the American superhero film, demanding it fail at the Chinese box office. One viral comment summed it up. I don't care if Niza 2 can survive overseas, but Captain America 4 must die in China. Look at that wording.
Yeah.
They're not saying must fail in China. They're saying must die, like it's symbolically Captain America must die. This wasn't just fan enthusiasm. It was cultural warfare, a demand that Western narratives bow before nationalist ones, that Chinese stories triumph over imported ideals. And for many in China, this wasn't political, it was personal. Won't it be interesting if after this closeout happens, you have a movie where they basically blatantly just use Captain America and have him be the villain?
I know, right?
This isn't just about movie tickets. It's about narrative dominance. China no longer sees Hollywood as a partner. It sees it as a threat to control, competitor in the arena of global storytelling. And with nationalist fervor rising and domestic studios booming, the China government appears ready to cut the cord entirely. If the brand proceeds, it will be a monumental shift, one that forces American studios to reckon with the uncomfortable truth. For all their compromise and concessions, they were never really in control. Hollywood may have thought it was exporting culture, but in reality it was importing censorship, and now that censorship no longer needs them. I kind of glossed over, there's a whole thing in this article too about all the various ways American movies had to be censored. Like Black Panther in China didn't actually show the face of Chadwick Boseman on the poster.
Right.
In China, even though every other Marvel poster did.
John Boyega got minimized on the poster. Yeah. And arguably they completely changed the original plan for him. He was going to be front and center and the new Jedi, and they said, nope, it'll be Daisy Ridley instead.
Yeah, I was annoyed by that. They were setting up, and then Abrams, to fool you, it's really okay, right? They
whatever.
Don't get me started on the sequel trilogy. Okay, let's move on to the next article, which is Power Rangers. Are there Power Rangers fans in here? Chinese have been demeaning the view of black people, so new movie won't be received as well. Okay, I don't know. Oh, the new Captain America, I guess. Black Power Ranger controversy ignites.
Yeah,
Hollywood
this
media
is an
spin.
interesting one. Yeah.
But the original actor isn't having it. This is from That Park Place as well. They're doing a lot of good work this week. The mainstream media has once again latched onto retro TV moment and turning it into something it was never meant to be. This time, the target is the 90s kids action show Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, specifically the casting decisions made over 30 years ago. According to headlines making the rounds this week, the show's head writer, Tony Oliver, confessed that it was a mistake to class a black actor as the Black Ranger and an Asian actress as the Yellow Ranger. Oliver's comments came from the new investigation discovery series Hollywood Demons, where he claims none of us were thinking stereotypes and that he didn't realize the potential for controversy until an assistant pointed it out much later. It was such a mistake, he added, sparking an avalanche of editorial takes, social media chatter, and surface-level hot takes. What most of these outlets conveniently left out, however, was the perspective of the actual actor at the center of the original so-called controversy, Walter Emmanuel Jones, the original Black Ranger himself. Posting to Instagram, Jones addressed the renewed media focus head-on. Incredible how many media outlets pick this up. However, while some choose to seek out the negative, I've always believed in focusing on the positive. I understand the impulse to address what might be seen as cultural insensitivity, but calling it a mistake would dismiss the impact it had on countless people around the world who found inspiration and representation in TV's first black superhero, morphing into none other than the Black Power Ranger. It wasn't.
Although I would argue he wasn't the first black superhero, but
on TV, he says.
On TV. Okay. I don't know. Mantis came before him.
Nah, I don't know if it was or not. But the point is, anyway, it wasn't a mistake. It was a milestone. It was an honor. In one statement, Jones managed to dismantle the entire narrative being pushed. Far from feeling misrepresented or sidelined, he viewed the role as historic, and he's right. For a generation of kids, Zach Taylor wasn't just a Ranger. He was the Ranger. He was the swagger, the energy, the cool factor. And more importantly, Jones was right. He was the first black superhero many 90s kids ever saw on screen.
Yeah.
So I guess this was I didn't watch the show myself, but I'm assuming he was a favorite Power Ranger of many kids in the United States.
Well, I think that everybody had their favorites.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, let's face it. I mean, all of them for different reasons, right? I think that there was a lot of boys that really liked Pink Ranger, and
yes. It's funny that
all for different any reasons. Of them. I never watched the show.
Well, fair enough.
It was very popular among a certain age bracket, a little younger than me, I think. Yeah,
I think there was a lot of fans of. I actually don't remember what the original show was over in Japan that the footage was taken from. That might have been a little surprised to find that Yellow Ranger was a female in the American version.
Even in the documentary, old camcorder footage shows Jones joking on set, "My name is Walter Jones. I play Zach. I'm black, and I play the Black Ranger. Go figure." It was self-aware, lighthearted, absolutely not a moment of outrage. It was cast having fun while making something memorable. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone wants to put so much emphasis on it. It at most, it should cause you a little chuckle, and then you go, now, were they unfair to his character in the show? No, not at all. And talk about representation. This wasn't forced representation. It was just these are kids in a high school. They're a diverse group. There's no reason, because let's face it, the masks mean they could be anything underneath, right?
Yeah.
So they said, let's get a black person in there, an Asian girl, a white girl, a Hispanic boy, what we didn't know at the time, a gay guy,
Well, there's also the matter of Trini Kwan, the Yellow Power Ranger on the show, but it's worth noting that the original actress cast as the Yellow Ranger, Audrey Dubois, was not Asian. She was originally cast for the pilot, but left over a contract dispute. The role was then recast with Thu Trang, a Vietnamese-American actress who was later edited into the existing footage. In short, the casting of an Asian actress wasn't planned. It happened as a result of behind-the-scenes changes. So they didn't say stick the Asian actress as they just recast the original actress.
Right.
That's all it was. Trying to embody the peaceful conscience of the group, which was what the team was seeking, not a demographic checkbox. They were casting her based on her personality.
Yeah.
Which is probably how they cast all the characters on this. So they probably looked for actors that would embody these characters the best. It was just
and it was very clear that they did have very different personality types. You had the Red Ranger, who was kind of your alpha male leader, right? You had the Black Ranger who, like you said, it was the cool guy with the swagger. You know, you had the Blue Ranger who, again, we didn't know it at the time, but he was gay. He was a little more of a beta kind of guy, but nice guy
conscious.
type. Yeah, nice guy. You know. Okay. Anyway.
It's also important to remember that Thu Trang tragically passed away in 2001, though she isn't here to speak on the current discussion. Her legacy as Trini Kwan continues to inspire. Portrayal gave many young viewers, especially Asian girls, a rare action hero they could see themselves in. Her contribution remains one of the most beloved in Power Rangers history, despite the modern Hollywood access media attempting to spin it as problematic. And while Tony Oliver now... people think that the 90s was this backwards time because they weren't there and thinking that everything
because they want to feel so good about their virtue signaling now, the past has to be worse. You know, it has to have been this horrible dystopia that we're pulling you up out of because of our progressivism.
And while Tony Oliver now looks back on the decision through a different lens, the context matters. Neither he nor creator Shuki Levy were coming from a U.S.-centric worldview at the time. Levy, who grew up in Israel, previously told Complex, being a black person is like being any other kind of color. It's not something we talked about all the time. It wasn't a big issue. Unfortunately, nuance doesn't trend, and that's exactly what's missing in the rush to rewrite pop culture history. Instead of celebrating a cultural touchstone that meant the world to millions of kids, the media chose to drag the conversation into modern buzzword territory. This is reminding me of Franklin at the Thanksgiving table.
Kinda, yeah, exactly right.
It was part of a gag, which is why he was there, having to do with that chair that kept attacking Snoopy. It had nothing to do with them placing him away, thinking he's less than. It's ridiculous.
Let's shift this window. Instead of looking at the past and the present, let's look at the present and imagine the future. Can you imagine how people are going to frame, you know, the past 10 years of inclusion DEI bullcrap? Think about it.
We'll see what if we make it to the 2040s, that's when the true reflection will happen.
Yeah.
We have to wait a couple more decades. But first, we have to see if the 2030s will sort all this out, because we're going to have a lot of upchucking going on for the rest of this decade, especially with Disney movies.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But anyway, the point is, thankfully, Walter Jones didn't let the narrative stand. Reminded everyone that Power Rangers gave kids a world where heroes didn't all look the same, and that was the point. Representation wasn't about a checkbox. It was natural, earned, and impactful. If only the media could morph into something with that kind of wisdom. Yes, well said. Yeah. So
honestly, it kind of reminds me of the kids from Stranger Things dressing up as the Ghostbusters, and they were trying to get the black kid to dress up as Winston Zeddemore, just cause.
I remember that. That was, and he said he wanted to be Peter, and he's like, "You want to be Winston," which is odd because Winston is my personal favorite of the four.
I know, right? But we can't. No, because that would be blackface if we were to be Winston Zeddemore.
Well, he represents the everyman. That's how I saw him as a kid. He's not the science weirdo. He's just a guy that came in there, was hired off.
He totally gets you. I mean, he became my favorite as soon as that line says, "Do you believe in this, that?" He goes, "If there's a steady paycheck in it, I'll believe anything you say."
Well, then there was that great line where he was quoting Revelations, right? And
yes,
and he was saying that
and he's having that conversation. Who's he having that conversation with?
With Ray, who's more of a skeptic, right? And he's saying
who's more of a skeptic, but he's a scientist. He may not believe the religious things, but he believes all this paranormal stuff.
We said, "Do you believe in God?" And he says, "I've never met him." So he's not even saying he doesn't exist. He's just saying. I guess it was more of an agnostic answer, right? But it was. And then he says,
what's interesting is because this is kind of like some conversations I've heard about Indiana Jones. How do you get to the Dial of Dysentery and he still doesn't believe in the supernatural? It's like, you have literally seen the supernatural up close and personal, and you're still a skeptic? Now, that goes beyond being a skeptic. That just means you're willfully stupid, you know?
Yes.
And I honestly thought that conversation in the Ectomobile of those two, it was, you got the scientist, right, who's all super smart, right, and you got the everyman, and they're meeting on middle ground on something.
Yes.
Winston has insight.
Yes.
That Ray really hadn't been thinking about. And you can almost see the gears turning, and you see it kind of, the big payoff is then in Afterlife.
Yeah.
When he's got that tattooed on his arm.
Yep.
That is an act of humility on Ray's part.
Yep. That was to remind himself.
Yeah. That he got a little arrogant. And he needed to be humbled a little bit, and he was in a nice indirect way. He was humbled by Winston.
Oh, well, they were gonna have Winston do more stuff in the original, but then Eddie Murphy backed out of the part. Oh well.
Yeah, I had heard that, but I'll be honest with you. I honestly think that the stuff they would have, and if it's true that they were going to go with Eddie Murphy, I think he was just going to get some of the lines that they ended up giving to Bill Murray, and they really couldn't add much more to that. There's a lot of stuff that was filmed for it that didn't go into it. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. Anyway, representation,
all right, man.
Right?
Let me get out of this. All right, you want to post the next one?
Yep. So at least we can say that here's one POS dead on arrival thing that it's better is not happening. That's a perfect face. That you picked a good picture.
I was trying to pick an angry face. That was the best I could do. Yes.
That's very disappointed. Yeah, it's good.
We all love traditional Lara Croft. Anyway, following years of rumors, Amazon Prime Video officially revealed plans for a new TV series based on the Tomb Raider games in May 2024. The announcement's big hook was Phoebe Waller-Bridge as writer-producer, who's best known as the creator of Fleabag and head writer of Killing Eve, and amped up her own fan of the series. Lara means a lot to me, as she does to many, and I can't wait to go on this adventure, bats and all. Well, it's a nice idea. The Daily Mail now cites a source that Lara Croft's mooted small-screen adventures are not going ahead. While another source is even more ambiguous, the project is dead. Neither Prime Video nor Waller-Bridge's representatives have commented. Well, they just got rid of the head of the Amazon production, so I think this got the axe. That deal was made under the aegis of Jennifer Salke. That's who green-lighted and was overseeing the Tomb Raider project, and was head of Amazon Studios until just last week. Waller-Bridge grew up playing Lara Croft 2, said Salke in 2020. We think it's going to be a huge franchise for us. No, she put the game down and went back to studying school stuff. She said that. Exactly. She's not a fan. I'm sorry.
Nate says, can I get a hallelujah? Hallelujah, brother.
Prime Video
Darth Plato says, make Lara Croft hot again. Yes, I agree.
Hold the phone. Prime Video signed up Waller-Bridge to Megabucks exclusivity deal in 2019 worth $20 million a year, but since then has produced no shows or films from the creator. $20 million a year in 2019. Does that mean she made $100 million for not doing anything?
Exactly right. That's how I read it.
They like to burn money. They just like to burn money.
Well, this is these modern neo-Marxists, right? They are literally taking money from big companies for doing nothing.
You paid her $100 million and she didn't deliver anything. It's not even like it's not even like you put her on like Fleabag Part 2 or another comedy.
Now, to
project.
be fair, they might have actually cut their losses, because if she had produced something, then it probably would have cost them a lot more.
Yeah, Michael from Retro Blasting, by the way, has a great video on this. You should check it out.
I'm going to drop the link right now. It's also in the description below. Go check it out. He's very poignant as well. He's got a vested interest in Lara Croft. He's a fan.
Also in development is a new Tomb Raider game from series veterans Crystal Dynamics, which is being developed under Unreal Engine 5. And hold on your hat, folks, will feature mind-bending puzzles, a wide variety of enemies, and a new chapter in Lara Croft's story.
So it's using Unreal Engine?
Yes.
So I can guarantee you that Lara Croft is going to look like a square-jawed guy.
Probably. Waller-Bridge.
That you can look forward to.
Yeah.
So as Darth Plato said, make Lara hot again. It's not going to be happening anytime soon.
No. Make her feminine again. Can you do that? Okay. Let's see here. Geek Flag had a comment. Michael brought this up too. Waller-Bridge and J.J. Abrams both had multi-million-dollar deals, exclusive deals, and neither made anything for the studios. Yeah, I think Abrams was for Warner Brothers HBO, wasn't it? These companies. Yeah, she doesn't look happy there. Anyway, moving on. You can currently play the Tomb Raider 1 through 3 remastered collection, and you can also get the Tomb Raider 4 through 6 collection too. And they're even available physically on Switch and PlayStation 5. So if you feel like getting physical editions.
Yep.
Final story of the night. This one threw me for a loop. Last of the CinemaCon things that I thought was interesting to talk about. Sam Mendes Beatles biopic set release. All 4 movies open in April 2028. That's this month. Get ready for lots of mop top in a short period of time. Sam Mendes is making 4 Beatles movies, and all 4 will be released theatrically. Oh, April 2028. The film, not this month. The filmmaker who announced the news at CinemaCon has also confirmed the much speculated casting. Paul Mescal is playing Paul McCartney. Joseph Quinn will be playing George Harrison. Barry Keoghan will star as Ringo Starr, and Harris Dickinson will put his spin on John Lennon. The 4 stars come out on stage at the Las Vegas-based trade show for cinema operators, embowed in the style of that band popularized in their heyday. Here's the official logline. Each man has his own story, but together they are legendary. Mendes promised that this multi-part biopic, officially titled The Beatles, a foreign film cinematic event, will be the first bingeable theatrical experience. It's unclear whether that means the movies will be released all at once or 1 per week over the course of the month. We need big cinematic events to get people out of the house, Mendes told the room full of theater owners on Monday at Sony's presentation. The director, whose credits include American Beauty and Skyfall, had dreamed of bringing the Fab Four to screens for years, but he didn't want to make a miniseries, and he worried the story would be too huge to fit into a single movie, so he came up with a plan to tell the story of the greatest band in history from the perspective of each of the members, to try to capture their improbable story from Liverpool to the center of global culture. That means 4 standalone features and one of the biggest bets in movie history. It's a chance to understand them more deeply, Mendes promised. The film is
actually kind of a brilliant idea if you think about it.
I'm curious. Yeah, I'm gonna mention. Let me just finish. It's a chance to understand. The film is the first narrative feature to be granted music rights to the Beatles, extended catalog hits such as Strawberry Fields, Let It Be, I Am the Walrus, Yellow Submarine, and way too many others to mention here. Here's what I find interesting about this. This experiment was tried once before in Germany. Except it was done with the Indian Tomb. With the Indian Tomb and the Tiger of Epshmanop, whatever it was called. It's Fritz Lang's Indian epic, which had Deborah Paget doing the snake dance in it. Okay. The idea of this event is that they would release a movie in 2 parts, and they would have both parts playing in the theater at the same time, and maybe one night of the week you would see the first part, another night of the week you would go see the second part. I don't think it really panned out the way they had wanted it to. In fact, when it was released in North America, they kind of chopped it together and stuck it as one movie. Not the best way to experience that. But you can still get it on DVD. But it was an interesting idea. These movies, however, are standalone, so you don't necessarily even have to see all of them. You could just watch one, and it would be a complete experience.
Good, because I want to skip the John Lennon one. I don't give a flying F about him.
You'll see the Ringo Starr one, right? Who will play Barbara Bach?
I'll see all 3 of the other ones.
Who will play Barbara Bach in the Ringo Starr one, I wonder. Okay, anyway.
Interesting. Yeah, good point.
It's not brilliant. It's absolutely stupid. Millions of dollars is going to be lost. Just put it on a streaming service. But I think that's what he's trying to do. He is trying to take the streaming idea of binge watching and turn it into a theatrical experience. Theoretically, you could go to a movie theater and buy 4 tickets and watch all of these 4 in a row in a day. In fact, it won't surprise me if some theaters offer that. Like maybe on a Sunday or a Saturday, you can watch all 4 of the Beatles movies in one theater for
you can make an all-day thing of it, yeah. From the cinema's point of view, they need something like this. Because you can say what you want, Nate, but if you say that about enough stuff, because a lot of people are, there is going to be no cinema anymore, period.
I don't know if this is going to work.
Most of these cinemas are getting ready to close. and you will get nothing anymore. So if you ever want to see any more movies, you might want to start going to see a thing or two once in a while, or it's all going to be on streaming.
But I also thought when I first read this article that maybe this is also going to become a streaming event later on, and they can throw
it
them
certainly
on
will.
service.
But again, this is what we've been saying. If you want something to go onto your streaming service, release it in the cinema first. Make your money, and then supplement your what do you call it? Subscription service with content. But make your money at the cinema first.
It's an experiment that will either blow up or fail miserably. I don't know which.
Look,
but it
and
is interesting.
This may be the first movie that's done 4 together, but it isn't without precedent. They tried to do it with Superman and Superman 2, and Warner Brothers got cold feet. And that had devastating impact on the second movie. Well, kind of the first one, too. Spielberg did it with Back to the Future 2 and 3, and it paid off big time. What was the other one where we had?
Well, he's saying, but Geek Flag is saying ticket prices are too high, which I think is true. Yes.
Again, we're talking about an industry that's about to die. This is their death knell.
Listen,
they need to charge those kinds of prices just in order to stay afloat.
I got to lay it out here for you, though. I took my sister because I promised I'd take her to go see that Bob Dylan movie that came out. 2 tickets, popcorn, drinks, and I think Twizzler candy came to $70.
Yeah,
for all that.
Yeah, I know.
That's a crime. And luckily, I had earned a free popcorn, so that took some money off of it. But I'm like, that was from Regal, which I think deleted scenes goes to. So
well, and that's again, I'm going on Tuesdays to the cheaper, daytime, early day.
They don't do that anymore. That's the problem. Matinees are not a thing like
the ones by us do, though.
Okay.
Yeah. See, I'm not going to Regal, and I'm not going to what are the other big ones?
No, they used to offer student discounts. I get looked at cross-eyed when I mention that now. Okay, it's like,
well, yeah, students can be adults too,
Yeah, but they used to give you a discount.
But and the other thing I wanted to say about this is I'm getting sick and tired of them trying to squash big stories into 2-hour or less films.
So
I said this about Dune, and I'm going to say it about this. If you've got a big story to tell, yes, divide it up how you need to divide it up.
Do you think that this will be like a Rashomon style thing where different Beatles are remembering events differently?
See, this is what I was kind of wondering about as you were saying it. So it could be the same story from 4 different points of view. It could be one longer narrative, but each of the 4 represents the narrator for that element. Certainly there could be a something in between where there's overlap. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. This is a little bit avant-garde, so it'll be interesting to see how it's pulled off. It could be a complete disaster, but it could also be something really, really brilliant.
Troy used to spend money going to the Alamo Drafthouse to buy tickets and $15-20. Well, they probably offer you a better deal. I used to go to the movies every weekend. I haven't been able to do the movie theater in over 2 years because it's too expensive. I understand.
Yeah.
Oh, channel, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I think is that over on Netter's channel? Yep. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, CluuStudio. CluuStudio, not Clue Channel. Sorry.
I know. Change is hard. I still call it the Sears Tower, even though they want us to call us the Willis Tower.
Studio.
I know.
And thank you so much, sweetie. I really appreciate that.
Exactly. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. The other problem here is value for your dollar. Is it worth it to spend that much money for the movie you're about to see that you're going to, halfway through it go, this is a piece of woke crap, Well,
then you're not going to be seeing the other 3, are you?
Well, I wasn't specifically talking about this.
Okay. I see.
Yeah,
okay.
No, that's a good point too, yeah.
No, well, theatrical features tend not to be as bad. Disney's usually the worst for that stuff because it's not like on television. You get that stuff pushed more with TV series because on your streaming service, because I guess you have the idea that, well, I'm not really paying for it anyway. Of course you are because you're subscribing.
And that's the other element when it comes to streaming. How many people are looking at this going, yeah, I really want to see this, but I can wait a couple months for it to come out on stream. I don't need to spend the money to watch it. That's where they're really shooting themselves in the foot.
They are trying to make this like an Apocalypse Now level event. We'll see how this turns out. I don't know.
CluuStudio gets an amen for that one. Sears Tower? There's no such a thing as a Willis Tower. I agree. I agree.
Not that this has anything to do with anything, but I used to play a game called Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee on the GameCube with my GameCube controller, and my favorite city to fight in was Seattle. Do you know why? The Space Needle was hard to knock down, but when you did, you got a sense of satisfaction.
Oh, there you go.
London, the buildings crumbled under you when you would fight in London. It was like nothing. Like, it was neat. You got to fight in different cities around the world. I think there were 2 from Japan, a bunch from the U.S., some from Europe. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nate. He said, I'd rather give my money to you guys.
Thank you, Nate.
The movies that Netter and I go to, one of us would be able to see a movie for $5. See, that still exists. Really does. So thank you so much for that. That's very kind.
And Comiskey Park is never going to be whatever
some U.S. Cellular Park or whatever.
I think they currently have the naming rights to it, but it's like, no, it's Comiskey Park. It'll always be.
This is where it started for me. You could tell me what you want me to call it. That doesn't mean I'm going to call it that. You could tell me what your preferred pronouns are. I'm still going to call you whatever I want to call you.
And you can call me Boomer.
Yes, because that's exactly what you are.
Okay, and now we have ended the stream, and now we have to talk about what's coming up during the week. You got, speaking of movies, you got a movie tomorrow night, right?
I do have a movie tomorrow night, and of course.
Oh wait, but before that, this deleted Steven.
He does not tonight. Okay, no, I believe he said. Well, he didn't have one posted by the time we went live, and I think he said he needed to get to bed because he had to get up early for work tomorrow.
Gotcha.
So no, what's it called? The Midnight Show over on Deleted Scenes isn't happening. So, and you can call me Ray. It says Nate. I remember that.
You can call me Ray.
You call me Jay, or you call, yeah.
But don't call me late for dinner.
Exactly.
I remember that line.
But yes, so tomorrow night over on Members Night at the Movies for Last Call to Troy Pacelli, the members have decided that we will be watching Arsenic and Old Lace from 1944. We did watch that one. I don't know.
On my channel, in the A's.
Yeah, over on Netter's channel some time ago, back when we were in the A's, but. We will watch that again tomorrow night on my channel. All the members can join us for that. If you are not a member and you would like to join us, or you just would like the benefit of a movie every week on Monday nights for as little as $2 a month, much cheaper than the theaters, let me tell you. And you can supply your own popcorn, so that's cheap too. Consider becoming a member on my channel, and I let the members decide what movie we'll watch every Monday, and then I stream it for you on Cosme, and we enjoy each other's company as we watch. But that is Monday at 8 Central, 9 Eastern over on my channel for members only. Tuesday, I got a couple things going on. I will be guesting over on Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips over on his Rumble channel. We will be watching Tron and Tron Legacy, and he asked me to be a member of the panel with him. So I believe that's at 2 Central here in the Chicago area.
On the 15th.
Yeah, that is on Tuesday.
Oh, is it really already?
Yes.
Oh, wow, I guess it is.
April's flying by.
I actually don't remember if it's 2:00 Central or 2:00 Eastern, but I will share that out on my. Thank you, Clue. He says I love your channel. So there you go. Another $5. That's enough for us for a night at the movies, Netter. we can go see whatever you want to go see this week.
Well, no, he did
Minecraft.
My channel, so that means he loves my channel.
Well, yeah.
Actually, maybe you might want to skip Minecraft. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I don't know that I would be the appropriate
Not
audience.
the appropriate audience for that. No.
But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I don't remember what time exactly. I will post Central. A link. I will post a link on my community tab to come watch us over on Rumble. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm kind of looking forward to it. Just picked up a copy of Tron Legacy, in fact. But then later that evening, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern, over on Deleted Scenes channel, we will be finishing up my little conversation, sharing with you about the secret history of Twin Peaks. We're gonna finish talking about that book, and then we'll talk about what we got coming up in the future of Live in Sparkwood in 21. Again, that's 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern on Deleted Scenes channel. Followed immediately after by the next episode of Blake 7 over on my channel. That is the 12th episode of the second season, called The Keeper. Can the Keeper of the Secret really be on Goth? Dockley certainly thought so, and Blake can't resist the lure of so great a prize, the location of Star One, at last, and the chance to destroy the Federation forever. So that is on my channel at 9:30-ish Central, 10:30-ish Eastern on Tuesday. Thursday night over on Netter's Network, Thursday Things, 9 Central, 10 Eastern on Netter's channel.
The Bosco Scenario.
The Bosco Scenario. We will be chatting with Bosco and talking about his channel and find out what he's been up to since we last talked to him.
Does the Bosco Scenario drink Bosco?
He should. He should. If not, I will highly recommend a chocolate drink. Who knows? Maybe I'll have a chocolate martini on Friday, because Friday over on my channel for Last Call, 9 Central, 10 Eastern. What are we going to be talking about there, Boomer?
We are finally going to go into our New Who discussion, starting with the first attempted reboot of New Who, which was the Paul McGann, and also going into the Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant, basically the original Russell T Davies era. We'll talk about that on Friday. We may do something about Dimensions in Time, which you keep talking to me about. I wonder if that's on BritBox. I should look it up and see if it is. You know, it isn't on BritBox anymore, Blake 7, but you know. Can you put something else on there instead, like the Tomorrow People or something? I mean, what are you doing?
Oh, I love the Tomorrow People.
Why am I paying you for?
Dimensions in Time. Let's see. Is it available anywhere?
I'll find out. If not, I'll watch clips on YouTube. Okay.
I was just gonna say, it looks. Oh no. This looks like it could be the whole thing.
Okay.
On YouTube. Well, I'll share it with you afterwards. That's fine.
Okay, cool.
Looks like it's a work print, but
I'm sorry. The whole thing was a work print. I'm sorry. No,
it was yeah. It was kind of painful. You know, there's good Doctor Who, there's bad Doctor Who, and this was just a mess.
I watched clips and I just thought, this is sad. I'm like, I want to like this. I really do.
Well, the worst part about it, you may not realize this, but part of the shtick was also that it was in 3D. And the 3D effect was really bad. It's not good 3D. Is
Patrick Troughton like taking the recorder and shoving it into the screen a few times or something? Or was he dead at that point when that came out?
It's not like that. It's like if you've ever seen you know, like magazines and stuff where you put on the 3D glasses and it looks like there's some dimensionality to it.
No.
Not like there's something coming at you or anything. It just looks like a picture box type of thing.
This is going to depress me. And then we'll talk. I assume this was before Paul McGann special.
Probably the best 3D effect was at the very beginning, because they couldn't get. Well, obviously they couldn't get Patrick Troughton and William Hartnell. They,
Pat passed on. Yes,
they had passed on. So there's this weird thing that they did with busts of them that they had. There was some loosey-goosey explanation for why they couldn't physically be there. They were trapped or whatever. And they did this thing where the two busts were like spinning around each other or something very weird. And it really looked like, one of them was coming out of the TV and the other was going into the TV. It was kind of strange. And what's his name? Tom Baker didn't want to come back. So they used footage of him reading, I think he was reading something for Shada or something like that. And it implied that he was sending out a message to the other doctors or something like that, which
sets the give whole me a break.
It's a thing that happened, and it needs to be talked
like the
about.
Justice League pilot movie that only aired once, or maybe it never aired, and they didn't touch it again. That's what this reminded me of.
Kind of, yeah. There's something of that kind of a feel to it. Yes.
Okay. Well, that'll be Friday. And well. We're going to skip New Who. We're just going to talk about dimensions and time for the 2 hours. Anyway, no, I'm kidding. Anyway,
we almost could.
No, we're not. We'll talk. Well, we can touch on it later. We're going to talk about it for 10 minutes, and at most.
Okay.
Moving on to Saturday. What
Saturday over on Big Al Presents Films with Friends, continuing the animated Tolkien, thing. We will be watching the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings. That's at 9 Central, 10 Eastern, over on Big Al Presents Films with Friends.
Cool. All right.
And that's pretty much the week in review, my friends.
And if you want something extra, I dropped a video today.
That's right.
Head over to my channel and you can find maybe some helpful tips on how to save some money.
Yep. How to be frugal. It's worth checking out. It was a good video.
All right,
over on
great. I'll look for it. Sounds good. All right, everybody. Y'all have a good night, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you, everybody, for popping by.
Take care. Bye-bye.